Hello, chat. It is Friday the 13th in October in 2023, and now is the time to reflect on spooky things, such as a man who once owned a forum and then died because of it. We will get into this. I want to point out that my intro song is Bustin by Neil Garcia, or Cicierega. I cannot pronounce his name, I apologize. He's done many comedy audio, like music skits. And it's very apropos, not just because it is a spooky song on a spooky month, but because of where this man got his career start. And so, without further ado, chat, I have my monster. I literally have a physical notebook full of, with 8 pages, actually, because I did a rough draft and I fucked it up and then I redid it. Full of notes to compress over, I think, 25 years of history at this point. Into as compact a stream as possible. I should say that my name is Joshua Moon. I run a website called the Kiwi Farms. This is Man with the Internet. It's my podcast. And I have some dealings with Lowtax. However, I have no dealings with Something Awful. So I cannot speak about Lowtax without speaking about his website, Something Awful. My knowledge of Something Awful comes almost entirely secondhand. However, at a certain point, it becomes more first-hand knowledge. So if you're somebody who has been using Something Awful since 2001, and you know more than I do, keep in mind this is mostly focused on him. With that said, let us start in the beginning, chat. All right. So this is a very young Lowtax. He was born in 1976, so he was 45 when he died. Spoiler alert, he died. I already gave that away, though. I already said that he died because it was for him, which is actually very true. He was born in Missouri, in the Midwest, and he was born to his mother, Carol. Carol is a lawyer. From what I understand, his mother was a very successful, financially independent woman, and his father was absentee. I have no information about his father whatsoever. And so we can assume that Lowtax basically inherited this concept that there is no reason for a man to take care of his children from his father. From his mother, he inherited a sort of callousness. And again, that's all secondhand, so I don't know her, but that's what's been inferred, especially because of her behavior later on. There is some speculation that Lowtax is Jewish, and we are in the early life segment, so this is where I would tell you. He is not Jewish. His sister Jessica does teach at a Jewish private school. However, their family is not Jewish. He then went to Vanderbilt as a young man. He studied engineering, and this is where he picked up his understanding of technology, early internet, very early internet. Computers and such. However, he did drop out and he started to take odd jobs, not least of which is working for a guy called Byron Looper. Byron Looper was a Republican candidate in Texas. He's in a mugshot here because he shot and killed his political rival, I think in 2010, and he later died in prison for that. However, one of the things that he did as an odd job is that he wrote for a gaming blog in the late 1990s. There was a website called Planet Quake. He was hired as a content director. He wrote for them for a couple months, I want to say. I looked at the timelines and I didn't see that he was there for very long. So he was there, and eventually he said he was working, and this is dubious because it's Lowtax, and his concept of time, space, and especially labor is a very unreliable narrative. So he said that he was working 16-hour days, putting out writing for them continuously, and being underpaid for it. He said that the final straw that broke the back in his relationship with that company was that he put in super long hours to get an article out, and his bonus for putting in all that extra time was like a backpack with like an old 1990s MP3 player, and he was like, nah, fuck this. He decided that he could start his own blog and make money writing for himself and not have to pay dividends to or be paid dividends from Planet Quake. So that's what he did. In 1999, November 17th, he registered the domain somethingawful.com. Something awful was kind of like his catchphrase. He would just say, geez, that's something awful, isn't it? And that was just like his thing. I think that as a child, he developed a sort of like humorous facade for absolutely everything, and he always hid behind that. And so as an adult, even though he probably had some capacity for working as an engineer, or working with computers, or working with law, or working in politics, or whatever, all the different things he tried, comedy is what suited him best. It was sort of like his natural demeanor, just being facetious and not taking things seriously. So being a comedy writer is what he actually wanted to be. And so when he started Something Awful, it was supposed to be a comedy blog of his comedy writings for a general audience. The very, very early, this is from 2000. I think that the site was already kind of going by now. However, the very early archives are not super reliable. You can find super early work of his on the site to this day. They keep a living archive of all the 2000 stuff. And it was very much in the vein of the best page in the universe. You guys are probably familiar with Maddox, but if you don't know, he was the shit. This guy wrote articles making fun of little kids, and little kids loved this. When I was born in 1992, so when I was literally in elementary school, we would crowd around old iMacs in my 5th grade class, and we would pull up this site and giggle at all his edgy humor. And considering that this was launched in 98 and was like already popular by then, I'm tempted to say, I don't know this for sure, I'm tempted to say that maybe Lowtax was inspired by it. So a lot of his bitter, dry humor that was an early Something Awful, I kind of want to say was probably a turnabout from the best page in the universe. But I can't really substantiate that, but that's what it was. And then down here, you can say post all comments in the forums. So when the forum started, the Something Awful forum, it was just a comment place for where people could leave, responses to his articles. Maddox did it completely differently. He had mailbags. People would email him, and then he would reply in articles sometimes to those. However, Something Awful did it differently. They had different boards for the different authors and the articles that were coming out. And if you were intending to leave feedback on any of these articles, you would actually have to go to the forum, register an account, and then find a thread or make a thread to discuss things that were happening there. This forum obviously became very successful. It became more successful than the comedy pages, even though it would take Lowtax literally decades to admit this. And part of the reason why it was so successful was because of unintentional genius by Lowtax. This requires some explanation, so bear with me. Early internet, and especially in 1993, around the time that Lowtax was going to university, well, he was 17 in 1993. So, but between Something Awful and 1993, there was he was in university, and at that time, the internet was a very, very special place. It was very small. It was basically originally just universities and specific corporations, some government stuff, and medical stuff. The internet was actually originally developed so that medical information about patients could be traded between hospitals across the country and across perhaps even country lines, so that you wouldn't have to have your doctor fax your medical history to your new doctor or to your hospital. You could just pull that up. So the internet was a very specific purpose tool originally, and when early forums started, they were just email exchanges on things called Usenet boards, email-like exchanges on Usenet boards. However, in 1993, something really important happened. A company called America Online launched and made Usenet boards available to everybody in their own homes. Not many people had an internet connection in their homes or had access to the internet in general, perhaps at libraries or at school, but anybody had a phone line. And through America Online, if you had a phone line in your house, which most people did, you would be able to use a dial-up connection to connect to the internet to access Usenet boards. And the flooding in of unwashed masses to the special internet pissed off a lot of the people that were already there. And so in 2003, September 2003, the meme Eternal Summer came out, and the professionals who were using the internet and talking to themselves lamented that the internet was dying because of its broader adoption brought on by America Online and the ease of accessing the internet through that. Among those people, I believe, without evidence, was Lowtax. And I believe that because he implemented a special rule that was pretty unique at the time. Because keep in mind, a forum at this time, a web forum, was a pretty modern thing. Most people were used to using netboards. He launched a brand new, shiny, modern web forum. And one of the rules that he implemented on his forum was that you would not be allowed to use leet speak. This is an old phone. Many of you will literally not recognize any of these devices. Maybe you've seen them as an icon on something, but this is what old phones look like. And you may notice that they have 9 buttons for numpads. These numpads have 3 to 4 letters each. So if you wanted to say, hi, how are you? You would dial, let's see if I can blow this up. Say hi, so you would go 440 for space. How, so 44. O is 6, so you would say 6666. You do it 3 times, and then 9 for H, and then space, and you would continue to do this. So the amount of time that it would take to put in a simple statement on your Nokia was immense. So people, especially because, you know, typing wasn't as ubiquitous as it was, you had lots of new people using keyboards for the first time, and you had a lot of people using phones for the first time. They developed this sort of subhuman alphabet for communicating as shorthand as possible. And then that translated, because of their slow general typing speeds, to the internet as a whole through America Online. So one of the first things that Lowtax, who was an experienced computer user already at this point, did for his forum was they said, you will write in whole and complete sentences like an actual educated human being. And this was a breath of fresh air to the people who were suffering and languishing under the eternal September of 1993. That is part of the reason why Something Awful was so successful. The other thing was something that also was unintentional genius on the part of Lowtax. He mastered a concept called benign neglect. Basically, he did nothing, and it was a good thing. Because he did nothing, the forum was basically allowed to grow however it pleased. There wasn't too many hard rules. They basically let you say whatever you wanted to, and people were okay with this. And it created a very, very complex network of many different people all over the place, many different walks of life, all congregated on one site, and it just exploded. In part because of another thing that you can't give Lowtax for, but which came about from Something Awful. That is called a meme. You may not know what a meme is, but basically the modern concept of a meme started on Something Awful. For instance, you may recognize this little ditty from the 1990s. My internet wants to work. You may recognize it.
What happened? Someone set up us the bug. We get signal. What? Main screen turn on. It's you.
How are you, gentlemen? All your base are belong to us. You are on the way to destruction.
What you say?
You have no chance to survive, mate, your time. Ha ha ha. All your base, all your base are belong to us. All your base, all your base are belong to us. All your base.
Well, this is a 4-minute long montage. I'll cut it off there. But basically, they found that because Lowtax was heavily involved in gaming, obviously, because he was a big Quake 2 player. He wrote Planet Quake. A lot of people that were on this website were there who were into video games, and a lot of them were into Japanese imported video games, which I'll get to in a second. And so they would find these hilariously misdubbed Japanese games. They made fun of it, and then people started photoshopping it. And so Photoshop Friday was a thing, and Lowtax had the genius idea, spurred on by his trademark laziness, to take community postings from these free Photoshop Friday events and add them to his comedy blog to not only encourage people to continue making stuff, but also basically to derive free content from his own website that he could use to place on his advertised space on the front page. This had a circular effect where people were encouraged to make content. Lowtax published it, the memes would circulate, and then people would find their way back to something awful because the memes were basically advertisements that were viral advertisements that were posted for free all across the internet that brought more people to something awful who participated in Photoshop Fridays. And that explosive growth resulted in something awful becoming one of the largest web forums in the entire world, even though it was hosted by some fucking guy out of Missouri, right? So it's like he basically, without even knowing it, I believe, and a lot of people also sort of deny that Lowtax had some great idea. He was just making a website that he wanted to use that would elevate him as a comedian. So it was sort of like self-aggrandizing with the right amount of laziness and benign neglect. And it just worked out for him. It was just everything that he could possibly have wanted happened. And he didn't really have to think that hard about it or work too hard about it. And the result of this was some of the largest impact on internet culture, which persists to this day. And to help you understand this, I have made a diagram. You have Something Awful up here with Lowtax. You have EVE Online, which was created very early around the same time, early 2000s. The Something Awful gave birth to the Goon Squad. Among the Goon Squad was Eric Bad Spot Hartman. His name, Bad Spot, is a reference to Lowtax. Blockland and 4chan gave birth to the Kiwi Farms, effectively, because that's where I'm from. 4chan and Something Awful was... 2chan was an existing 1990s text board in Japan, but when hentai was banned by Lowtax, Moot made 4chan as a result, and that's kind of well known. What's not well known is that apparently the reason why Lowtax banned hentai is not I thought maybe he wanted his website safe for work. That's not the case. They had a porn board at the early years. But the reason why he banned hentai is because there was lots of lolicon coming over, which was like a novel thing at the time. And his reaction was, this looks like child porn. I don't want to get in trouble. So he banned that. And that is why Moot started 4chan, so that they could continue to have hentai. Because that's how much of a trailblazer he is. He got into the lolicon debate where he's like, well, how do we know if it's an underage drawing or an overage drawing? He said, fuck it. Fuck all the anime porn. That can go somewhere else. And then did. And went to 4chan. On the side, we have Dig and Reddit. I have a picture of Ben Yahtzee Croshaw, who was almost a contributor to the Something Awful front page. However, Lowtax didn't want to pay him, so he ended up going to The Escapist, or Zero Punctuation, instead. But Reddit and 4chan also gave birth to 8chan, which is why there is a full-on book called It Came From Something Awful, how a toxic troll army accidentally memed Donald Trump into office. And this entirely comes from like a full depiction of how all this Something Awful influence seeped into the broader internet. And to fully nail this point home, that a lot of important people and a lot of important things came from Something Awful, and it's just not a complete shithole. I have an alumni. We have sorry, let me hide this. We have Cliff Blazinski, who is a video game contributor to... I haven't read the book, sorry. He's a video game contributor to, I think, Gears of War. You have Drill, who is the founder of Weird Twitter. By the way, there's a rumor that Drill is by Chelsea Valkenborg or Zoe Quinn. That Zoe Quinn does Drill, and that stems from the fact that Zoe Quinn was I don't have her on here, but she was also a goon, and she famously was participant in a doxing thread called the Hell Thread, where they just dox each other for whatever reason. So she is an alumni from that. More Gamergate references. H Bomber Guy, British games and culture commentator type guy. He got to start on Something Awful again because of the heavy video game influence. Notch, Preston Marcus, you may know as the guy who made Minecraft. Lowtax, fun fact, hated Notch because he never gave any of his $1 billion to him. He believed that he was owed part of that money, and Notch apparently disagreed and never gave him shit. This is Total Biscuit. Total Biscuit was another British video game commentator, very famous, died from cancer, very tragically. This is the Yogscast. Yogscast got their start because, again, Something Awful made Let's Plays. Basically, the entire genre of Let's Plays started with people making threads, and they would also do fun things where they would pass game states between each other. There's a really famous one in particular with Dwarf Fortress. It's called like Murder Boat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but that's really famous, and that also is what helped popularize Dwarf Fortress. Is their Let's Play of Dwarf Fortress. Neil Garcia, the intro song, he's a comedy musician. He's still around. He still puts out music to this day. Also got his start on Something Awful. And finally, special mention to Boat Murdered, sorry. Vile Rat is I mentioned Goon Squad, which is the really massive evil online corporation that's been around for like 20 years. He was an admiral in Goon Squad. He was one of the D&D people on Something Awful. He was also a moderator, I think, for the Games Forum, and he was a genuine federal agent. He died in Benghazi from the very famous attack that brought about this quote, and it's worth mentioning because I'll touch on this in a second, that during the 2007 election, he was a big fan of Hillary Clinton and voted for her. Actually, what year was Benghazi? I might be a retard. 1 second. I don't want to get that wrong. Benghazi. Okay, 2012. So he voted for her in 2012, I want to say. And this is what she had to say about him after he died.
They didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator. Now,
she was not a Something Awful user, but she did make fun of a dead Something Awful user and said it didn't matter that he died, which is pretty funny, which is why I mentioned it. Actually, I mentioned it because of something else as well, which I'll get to. I'm working my way up to it. So this leaves us, and this is from the Empire of Dirt documentary by Bernie Vids. He broke down, based on web archives, the information available to him about registrations. And this is just registrations. Famously, Something Awful has a $10 registration fee. And when this was added, it was not a thing that people rejected. It was celebrated, because, as I mentioned, in Eternal September, you had all these kids coming over to see memes and all these trolls. And what is the most surefire way of making sure children don't come to your site when you can't do like driver like license footage or whatever? They didn't have ID verification back then. The easiest way would just be to have a credit card requirement. What teenager has a credit card that they have access to? So by charging $10, he managed to effectively gatekeep out anybody under 18. And because it was a very popular forum, still churning out lots of content, people still joined by the thousands. So in the golden era of Something Awful, between 2000 and probably at 2014, at the absolute latest, he was making over $10,000 every year. You might notice a dip right there at 2008 and 2009. There's a reason for that. That's important. But he made tons and tons and tons of fucking money off his site. So that is chapter 1, the rise. We now get to chapter 2, the life. The life of Lowtax. You are a young man. You are financially successful. You have your comedy forum, which has basically no physical requirement that you be in any particular place, and you have about $200,000 to blow every year. What do you do? Oh, also, you have an extremely large community of people at your disposal. What do you do? Now that you're in the prime of your life, you're a young man, you have tons of money, and you can be anywhere you want, and you have a bunch of people who adore you because you made an extremely popular website that influenced tons and tons of people. You, of course, go out and you find every goonette that you can, and you fuck them, which is what he did. So it started out with the mama GF. Not as in dating a mother, but dating a mother's recommendation. This is a video that I've not watched before. I know it's in it. I know that it's cringe. So we're going to watch it together for the first time. This is Lowtax meeting Angela at the airport. This is a girl that his mother set him up with. And of course, at this time, he's already the popular goon king. So he's going to bring along a ragtag entourage of autistic people with him. So you meet a girlfriend for the first time, and you have like a posse of retarded people like gurgling her name at her. They have put a camera in her face as well, which was uncommon at the time. So she's like embarrassed and hiding her face.
I'm so embarrassed.
Well, we heard it was your birthday.
No, you got it wrong. It's Saturday.
Close enough, huh?
Close enough.
What's that?
It's an alternative operating system, kind of like a hip-hop operating system. That's right.
So he just explains that Linux is like hip hop. It's an alternative operating system. This is great. This is peak cringe.
It's really cool.
Well, I believe you. I don't know who your name is, so okay.
Oh my god, look at, I thought there were like going to be like a 3 of them. There's a ton of them.
If it makes you feel any better, I told him it was a horrible idea, but that didn't keep me from
We're the Angelo fan club.
Thank you.
We meant to have a sign.
Sorry,
But we're all-
Her laugh is so awkward. She does not want to be in this. She regrets her decisions that have led up to this point.
All is forgiven.
Yeah.
Speaker.
Gotta get in touch with the other friends.
We say world news reference. That's an anger.
Is that all for you? Did you give them anything?
I gave him a business card. I got a business card.
Did you give anything else but business card?
What? No,
That's all I get.
he's cheap. We take money too. He doesn't have any cash. Did you read the website? I mean, great.
I give you guys
money, but Nathan doesn't pay me. Dude, I clicked through these 30 times. Yeah, I know.
Oh, hi.
Got a hug.
Dude, I'm converted to Emperor.
Yeah, get these shoes.
Yeah,
Get that, seriously. I want pictures of that guy's shoes. Very good.
I know, me too.
She's already on the phone. Like, help,
Okay.
help, get me out of here. Mayday, Mayday.
No, those are for when I go.
Look at that car chat. That's peak cool. That's what cool looks like. Cool personified. So there you go. Lowtax decides to hit it off with a woman. He brings along his goon friends, and then he realizes in the process that perhaps the issue with his dating life, considering all his wealth and success and fancy cars, is that he does not know how to interact with normal people anymore. So he decides he's just going to go all in and starts fucking every woman that he possibly can from something awful. Woman A, chat, is Emily. This is Emily. He allegedly attended a goon party with one girl and then immediately hooked up with Emily while at the party. She went by Integral on the forum, so she definitely was for sure a goon. He, according to a friend, this is not confirmed, he did propose to her, which starts off his habit of proposing to every single woman that he ever meets. And his relationship with her collapsed extremely publicly. We have this article by him saying, "What I learned last week," by Rich Lowtax Kayanka, age 26, on March 18th, 2003. I will learn this. Lesson number 1, never get romantically involved with a crazy woman. This important lesson repeatedly surfaces in my life, much like how dark clouds gather before an acid rainstorm in Southern California, or as Robert Downey Jr. appears before SWAT team arrives equipped with an assault team of U-Haul moving vans large enough to comfortably relocate his current fix of cocaine and tar heroin. However, no matter how carefully I investigate potential mates, despite the amount of time I spend getting to know them better, or as the authorities refer to, stalking them by hiding in the bushes and furiously masturbating outside their garage, and regardless of whom I eventually grow romantically linked to, their brains eventually collapse into a Biggie-sized bowl of wacko chili. This, by the way, also starts his convention of blaming absolutely everything on his exes. He apparently has never dated a sane, normal woman his entire life, and every single one of them is the root of all of his problems. Though this is funny, he calls her a pathological liar. Oh, actually doxes her. He says, Emily, I do not tell the truth. Regal appeared to embody the ideal of a normal person for nearly a year. Well, she posted on your site, but such I might have conceivably overlooked a few telltale signs of her brain goofiness, such as the time that she had a plane ticket to meet me in Seattle, but she claimed the FBI and CIA stopped her at the airport, refusing to let her on the plane. According to Emily Person Who Lies Regal, the U.S. government had detained her under the claim that she was a threat or terrorist or a very large explosive or some sort. Apparently, she called him throughout the entire day, providing up-to-date information about how she was detained. He says, I somehow possess the ability which causes people to spontaneously grow nutty after repeated exposure to myself. I can safely rule this one out as well, as Emily, lying for fun and profit, Regal had completely made up some fictitious life she claimed to have living before engaging in constant exposure to me. She claimed she went to medical school, and in reality, she was a hypochondriac who enjoyed visiting WebMD website every other hour. She claimed she had never been in a serious relationship before. In reality, she spent nearly 3 years dating some poor sod named Kevin when she decided to begin cheating on him with me. I simply have number 3. I simply have a lousy taste in women. Out of all theories, I'd say this contains the most truth. For example, I dated some girl a few months in college. After I broke up with her, she promptly became a lesbian. This is a really bad thing to write, because now any woman, because he's only interested in dating goons, right? So any woman who has any dignity is going to read this and think, oh, this is a really bad idea to fuck around with this guy. He's a retard. Fun fact, though, she mentions that she cheated on some guy named Kevin with him. It came out in 2019, many years later, that Josh Sawyer put out a statement. This is the lead developer for Fallout New Vegas from Obsidian. Says that he was cheating. Well, this is a reference to her indirectly. My coworkers, after I tell them about an extremely on relationship I had in the mid 2000s that was very tumultuous and also resulted in almost getting matching tattoos, it's cool to look back on myself in the mid 2000s and think, wow, I'm a stupid idiot. What a complete dumbass moron. And I am still. It's also cool that at one point this relationship became drama for an internet community, and it seemed like such an embarrassing nightmare at the time. But in retrospect, it was all just stupid, meaningless garbage, much like everything we post here to this day. So she allegedly cheated on Lowtax while dating him with the lead developer for Fallout New Vegas. Fun fact, just getting it out there. This is Fawnette. This is allegedly a picture of them, of him proposing to her yet again. She is also another goon. Her goon name was Fawnette. She Lowtax, for whatever reason, decided not to dox her. However, he did something a little bit worse. This one is timestamped in June 2003. The legend goes that that charming young man on his knee right there actually went to another goon party in the Midwest, or I don't know if this was in the Midwest. I can't remember where he lives at this time. But he went to a goon party, and Fawnette was dating another goon. In fact, the goon had brought his goonette girlfriend to this goon party. Unfortunately for him, the big man, the tax low himself, shows up and sweeps the young goonette off her feet immediately in front of him at the party. And then, of course, because there is goon on goon interpersonal drama, her nudes supposedly leaked to the forum, though it cannot be blamed on Lowtax. It's unknown who leaked them, but you have probably 2 really good options about who leaked them. Not much else to say about that one. And then, but there is a lot to say, but there were multiple hookups in between these. These are just the ones that came out publicly, I guess. They were the most serious of all his relationships, even though they were months apart. This is Megan, also known as Crazy Yellow on the forum. Lowtax brought a different goonette than Fawnette to another goon party and met Megan there. Ditched his date for Megan. She was an American Chinese. She was born in America, completely American. But she was a Chinese, obviously Chinese, kindergarten teacher, and very Christian. And that's a very important thing. I'll mention this now. Lowtax hated religion. He especially hated Christianity. I do not know why. I am forced to assume that because he grew up in the very religious Missouri Midwest, that his mother or the people just around him were very devotedly Christian, and it rubbed off on him the wrong way. And keep in mind that in this era of like the 1990s and 2000s, like fedora atheism was at its absolute zenith, so it was a very popular thing to hate religion. But Lowtax never really grew out of that, and he became devotedly anti-religious for the rest of his life, despite marrying a very religious woman, who I assume, because she's Chinese and lives in Missouri, that her parents were probably Christian Chinese people who were who left China during the revolution, though I don't know that for sure. That's just what I'm assuming. But it would be fair to say that her faith was very important to her. Why did Lowtax marry a woman that he had such a fundamental incompatibility with? Got her knocked up. It was a shotgun wedding, and months after getting married, the baby was born, his first daughter, Lauren. And so it was presumably because of the baby that they hooked up together, despite having pretty large separations in their belief systems. Let's lead this into the very bad year. They got married in 2005. It would be safe to say that 2006 was one of the worst years of Lowtax's life, because up until this point, he was free to do anything he wanted. He had the money, he had the access to women, he had his youth, and he had the respect of Something Awful. Like, people adored him. He could do no wrong. His sense of like blasé, nonsensical, like completely apathetic facade was something that permeated into the forum culture totally and completely. It still really defines it to this day. Like, a goon's worst fear is taking anything seriously. Like, he really defined how those people talk, and have talked for 20 years at this point. However, in 2006, he did something that really jeopardized his relationship with his forum. And if you're somebody from Something Awful, you already know what this is. It is the mangosteen incident. Despite making a ton of money just off registrations, and despite having ad revenue and forum upgrades and so on and so forth, Lowtax decided that he would try something to make a little bit of extra money that did not go over well with everybody. He decided that he would post, apropos of nothing, in one of his boards, a glowing review about mangosteen juice. If you do not know what mangosteens are, they are a fruit, I think, from like Southeast Asia. And during the craze of like juice diets and shit from the 2000s, they decided to do a mangosteen juice. Lowtax reviewed it. He said it was awesome. And he specifically wrote this review in such a way where he was like shitting on other types of mangosteen juices while hyping up a specific brand of mangosteen juices. So not only is mangosteen great, not only does it make him feel amazing and alive and youthful, it's the specific brand of mangosteen juice that you goons should be drinking. And obviously everyone called out the fact that there were affiliate links in the post. Did not go over well. Balky Way says, I believe in some herbal things, as DMAE did significantly increase my mental awareness. However, in this post, you, 1, talked about how great this stuff was, 2, provided a referral link, 3, bash every other brand and type except the one in your referral link. And when I see something like this, even though you've never done anything like this before, my scamdar goes off. Now, chances are it is illegal to post an affiliate link and not disclose that you are being sponsored or that your link is an affiliate link. That kind of shit is regulated by the FCC pretty tightly. This guy's being very cordial with Lowtax, but Lowtax has had enough of being called out. He can do no wrong. It has gone to his head. He is the king of Something Awful, and how dare the peasants talk back to him. He says, so don't fucking buy it. Don't fucking drink it. Don't fucking click my links. That link, that right there is like a meme that has transcended space and time. They still post that fucking quote in different formats over and over again to this very day. But he continues, I mean, Christ, all I did was make this thread to support a product which actually pleasantly surprised me, and folks are voting this thread crap and suggesting I'm scamming them. I've said repeatedly that this was just my experience and in no way should indicate how everyone else will feel. I've said the links to Amazon's were referrals, so I'm not trying to hide anything. Fuck it. I'm closing this thread. Fuck you and fuck general bullshit. I can never post a single goddamn thread in here without you faggots shitting it up in some way or another. I should have learned my lesson long ago and never left the intelligent, rational forum where I don't have to deal with clueless idiots and morons like you people. I'm going back to fuck you and die and staying there since it has a microscopic fraction of the retards and trolls populating general bullshit. I guess that should strike me as being ironic, but it's more sad than me to anything. Thanks for running me out of my own goddamn forum. Very bizarre post, and it's one of the instances, like the few posts in his entire life, the few moments of his entire life where he is no longer haha silly hee hee hoo hoo haha joke man. Like he's actually pissed off, like that someone called him out on his fucking mangosteen links. So for the rest of his life, he was known as the mangosteen guy because of this post. It actually made him so angry. Anytime that mangosteen was talked about, he would lose his shit. I've talked about Shmurky, and I will get to Shmurky later, but I've talked about Shmurky on an entirely different stream, entirely about Shmurky. Shmurky's ex, Mandy, came to the Kiwi Farms, and it disclosed that at some point, Shmurky joked to him, because he was setting up an account or something. They were all together in a room. He was making an account for some service. And Shmurky joked, you should make the password mangosteen, like with numbers and shit. And he apparently lost his shit, like in person, was just screaming at Shmurky, like, don't fucking make jokes like that, you piece of shit. So I figure now would be the appropriate time to mention that. This was also the first time that he kind of became an absentee. After this point in time, he had less hands-on work with something awful. He became more and more of an absentee father and was less prolific on the site because he just couldn't handle it. He very vindictively, he mentions that people negrated his post. Well, he pulled up out of the database the list of people who negrated his post and banned them all. So this was also one of the first times that we saw, or that something awful saw him being like truly vindictive and petty and spiteful and stupid about shit. However, it was not the last time that he would be having a very good, no good day in 2006 specifically. In this article from June 20, 2006, he says, look, Ma, I'm writing again. He starts off by saying, all that stuff about Uwe Boll today is true. I wonder what stuff that is. Unless something awful happens, I'll be flying up there to get beaten and be in the movie Postal, which looks quite possibly Boll's worst movie to date. And since the movie hasn't started filming yet, that date is in the future, so that means it's going to be his worst movie in the history of the world. He then points out, he posts a bunch of pictures of his family for some reason. I believe that's Lauren, because the other one's not around yet. And then announces that he is going to be fighting Uwe Boll. What does that mean? Uwe Boll, German film director, very weird name, spelled Uwe Boll, but it's actually pronounced Uwe Boll. I looked this up. I had the dignity of mind to actually look up how to pronounce his name instead of just, because I totally would have said Uwe Boll if I didn't know. Anyways, he issued a challenge to his critic because he makes these weird ass movies, and he said, if you don't like my movies, I will fight you. I will fight you in the squared circle. We will duke it out as men in a boxing match. Because Uwe Boll is apparently a very serious amateur boxer. He took the challenge very seriously. And Lowtax, who had never watched any of Uwe Boll's movies, decided to put out an article in response to that challenge on the same day, June 20th, 2006. So they hashed the shit out real fast. This is how you organize a fight, by the way. Uwe Boll said, I will fight all my critics. Lowtax puts out an article becoming a critic. Uwe Boll says, I will fight you. Lowtax says, same day, okay, we've already got a fight scheduled. And to his credit, he completely followed through with it. That's all the credit you can give him in regards to this. By the way, what he said, and this is the big quote here. Alone in the Dark, a movie by a stupid German jerk who's stupid and smells and probably molests dead children, although the last part is considered slander and or libel in Canada, just disregard it and pretend it actually said he molests living children instead. So he called Uwe Boll, for no reason other than the fact that he makes movies that he's never even seen, a necrophile pedophile Uwe Boll, of course, wanted to punch this guy in the face and said, "Let me punch you in the face." And Lowtax said, "Sure, let me let you punch me in the face." So they arranged a fight. And apparently, Lowtax was under the impression that this was going to be a show fight. It was not going to be an actual amateur boxing fight. Lowtax was mistaken. Uwe Boll took it very seriously. And so they proceeded to have a boxing match. I've also not watched this, so this will be the first time. I know it happens, though. Surprise.
Round one, here we go. We may get a bit of a feeling out process at first.
That is Lowtax being punched, if you can't tell. Uwe Boll floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. Appears to be round two. The referee separated them. I don't know why the commentator is like cut out, but
Kayanka down again. I'm a little concerned for Richard Kayanka right now. Uwe looks determined to do this.
he can barely even
Fans,
stand.
you can see this. You can see, if you can get in close enough, you can see the determined look on Uwe Boll's face. He is not joking around, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Lowtax Kayanka seems to be dancing around like this is some sort of joke. Uwe Boll, on the other hand, very serious, throwing some seriously big shots.
He can't even stand.
He looks like a man that hits pretty good. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with Uwe Boll's left hook. He seems to put the body behind that pretty good. He leads with that left hook a lot, though. Richard Kayanka looking for the crowd's approval, in a sense. Ooh, you're not going to win any fans by that one, that's for sure.
So he's trying to like dance around like, haha, I'm still being hee silly man. And the crowd is literally booing him live. He is getting punched right now by an angry German that he called a necrophile pedophile. And while trying to act hee silly in the ring, the crowd is literally booing him for not trying hard enough. This is a recurring trend in his life, actually, now that I think about it.
Looks like he's getting an 8 count. Is he going to get up? He's up. Is he ready to fight? He's going to fight some more. They're back at it again. Uwe leads with that left hand again, but he can't throw that right because by the time he throws it, Kayanka's down on the canvas. Oh, there's a big right hand. Oh, good left jab followed by the big right hand. Put Richard Kayanka down. 6, 7, 8, 9. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That fight is over.
It's over. It's so jover. There's another replay here.
Pretty good start for Uwe Boll. I'm pretty impressed with that left hook.
Oh, he's being oh, that's so cringe. That's so cringe. Like, all those people are there to see a real fight, and he's trying to do like his like dancing monkey routine. That's a fucking awful.
Punch. He seems to know what he's doing.
To be real with
good.
you.
Or was that just the end of the round? I'm not sure what's. It looks like we're going to go another round. I think we're going 3 rounds regardless, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are live from the Edgewater stage, the Plaza of Nations on wavelet.com. We're in between. Oh, no, that fight is over, ladies and gentlemen.
It's over.
It doesn't look like Richard Lowtax Kayanka is going to be coming out of his corner to fight.
Listen to the absolute contempt the announcer says that in.
No, that fight is over, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look like Richard Lowtax Kayanka is going to be coming out of his corner to fight.
That's actual contempt. That guy is so pissed that he's such a loser.
No, Richard Lowtax Kayanka has had it after being hit by that big left hook of Uwe Boll's. He's decided he's had enough.
Boo. There is a interview that he did after this that we should also watch, I guess.
We are live streaming as. We are live streaming as.
Yes, I love live streaming.
Do you love it?
It's
Everybody
great.
has 7,000 people right now watching us. Subscribe to this, and they're watching you.
Yeah, Uwe Boll hit me in the head.
7,000 people in 2006 is fucking amazing. That is a unbelievable number of people watching a live stream in that day.
I'm live streaming all over the place.
How does that feel, honestly, to be punched in the head? Like,
I can show you. Do you want to see?
you know what? Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm okay, but by the look of you're doing okay though. No blood.
Yeah, the other guy is actually vomiting on the sidewalk. He is live streaming all over the street.
There you go. So you know know you have a fan club, like that's your whole section right there. Whatever
Yes,
talking
that's
about.
all my relatives.
Are they?
Yeah.
I heard some of them got paid to be here. Is that true?
Yes.
One in beer. We had a guy who said he got paid to be here in beer.
Yeah, well, there's beer, and at the bottom there's a quarter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what do you got to say to all your fans and people that are going for UVA? What do you have to say to UVA?
To all my fans, I would have to say, if an angry German man challenges you to a boxing match and you've had absolutely no training, and then he says, okay, well, yeah, I'll train you before, and then he doesn't, and then he says, well, it doesn't matter.
He's blaming Uwe Boll for him not knowing how to fight and walking into a boxing ring.
I'm not going to hit you really hard, and then he does. You have a good reason to hate him a lot. Cities Report, I had no opinion on his movies.
Really?
Yeah, he says, they come up here, they say, okay, yeah, all his harshest critics are here to box him.
Right.
Half of us haven't even seen his movies.
No way.
And the fourth guy, they said, and a real amateur boxer is going to be fighting him. The guy never even fought a fight. Yes, he's an amateur boxer because he's sparred before, but he's never fought.
You said your record's straight, 100%.
Yes, I'm saying this is a combination of PR and BS.
He's salty. He's so salty because he's like what? He's like, he's 26 in 2003, so he's like 30 right now, and this is the first time in his entire life that he has ever had anyone call him on his shit and like knock him in a way that his little haha silly facade can't really hide. And that's what you're saying. You're seeing a guy with like cognitive dissonance who's trying to cope with the fact that he just got his ass shown for the first time ever.
It is quite entertaining because you know what, a lot of people are having a great time here.
Yeah, because everybody likes to see pain. And there's a lot of
taking it one for the team.
No, his Asian wife is like recording it on like an old, massive old VHS recorder, like just filming.
Taking it one for the team, right?
If I knew what team I was taking it for, I might be able to agree with you. But right now, I've kind of got various things brewing in my head, and yeah.
Wow, great. Well, it was fun to watch. I love the footwork. Where did you learn that?
I learned it when an actual drunken man was chasing me down the street. Yeah.
We just busted that out. That you're fighting Uva on Saturday, September 23rd in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yes, and then I threw American flags at him. It did not deter him. No.
Everything I saw the little thing you did too, and before the rest of it, that was close.
Yeah, well, I heard somewhere, which apparently is a place that tells me lies, but I heard somewhere that if the boxer touches you before the ring begins, before the match begins, before something begins, that he gets disqualified. So I was trying to do that, but I think he paid off the ref.
He was trying to get Uwe Boll disqualified. What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's all in.
So he's a cheater, and before, where I had no opinion on his films, now I really hate him as a human being. Yes.
That's too bad. Because what do you have to say to your other fellow competitors that are up next? Any word of advice?
Well, yeah, he'll hit you in the head, and it'll hurt. So the best thing that you can do is, fall down instantly before he hits you.
Submission, throw the towel in, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. I cannot say enough how much entertaining this is, and it was great to see you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
She's like making fun of him to his face, and he knows it. He can't say anything about it.
I'm probably going to lay in bed until I die.
True statement. Both of those are true statements. Unbelievable prediction and foretelling.
Trying to get up from somethingawful.com. You're on the forums, and people are going absolutely nuts right now.
They are. They're saying, man, he got his ass kicked. That's our hero. Can I curse on here?
Yeah, sure.
Fuck.
There you go, people. Straight from the word of Lowtax, Canada. Thank you so much.
Hold on. Fuck.
One more time.
No! Don't boss me around. I
I'm the
got
host,
to
damn
have
it.
in German.
Okay, I'll be good too. Thanks
Thank
so much.
you.
Again.
Ew.
There you go, guys.
Gross.
I got the mouth meat.
No, it's not that either. Give me that. My wife's right here. She's mad at you.
Here we go.
Get her!
Look at this.
Cat fight! Cat fight!
I'm selling this on eBay.
No, I'm selling this on eBay.
Okay, I'll cut it there. It's getting too hee silly for me. I need to quote that for like the video description. A man who was punched so hard he decided to lay down for the rest of his life until he died. Something like that. That's a great. That's literally like predictive foretelling. All right, that was Lowtax's very, very bad year of 2006. From that point on, between the mangosteen incident and the Uva Bowl incident, Lowtax literally could not show his own face on his own forum anymore, which begins, chat. Chapter 3, the stagnation. I must introduce you to a term called toxing. Toxxing, not to be confused with taxing. I guess I could do the voice. Taxing. There was a guy named Tox, and he posted a challenge on the forum, and he literally put his money where his mouth is. He said, I'm a big fat bastard, and I'm going to lose weight. And if I do not lose weight, the mods of Something Awful may ban me for being a fatty. He did not lose weight by the time he said he would. And so the mods banned him for being a fatty, which means that in order to come back to the forum, he must pay $10 to get back on. That's what I mean by putting money where your mouth is. So that established something called taxing, where you could challenge the mods under any sort of bet, where if you're wrong, you are banned. If you're right, you don't get anything. But it was fun to do, right? So comes along a year called 2008, and there is a big old stink between two political candidates, John McCain and Barack Hussein Obama. And many users decided that they would tax their account on the condition that their candidate of choice would win the election. Well, we know that Barack Hussein Obama won the election and John McCain did not, which means that all the John McCain voters who chose to tax their account were banned, and many of them did not come back, which disrupted the pH levels of Something Awful in a way that it never really recovered from. Many of the Something Awful conservatives were banned, and they just moved to different places, while the progressive and liberal aspects of Something Awful remained. And this had a very substantial impact, according to the people that I spoke to, on the culture of Something Awful and the direction that it headed going into the future. Because if you know Something Awful today, you'll know that it's not necessarily a very politically neutral ground. So that was the 2008 toxing incident. When Tumblr was also a thing around this time, about 2010, you'll also note that Tumblr was a very progressive place on the internet. So if the taxing incident of John McCain did not disrupt the pH of Something Awful, this did. This is, oh, give me a second. Danganronpa is a Japanese anime style video game. I know literally, actually I do know a little bit about it, unfortunately. It is like a Hunger Games-esque video game where the gist is that like there's a bunch of teenagers in high school, because every fucking anime ever is set in a high school, and the gist is that in order to get out of the Danganronpa high school, you must murder another student and get away with it. And apparently the head teacher of Danganronpa is the little electronic bear. I had mentioned that Something Awful was where Let's Plays originated from, and it continued to be a source of Let's Plays. It is a source of Let's Plays to this day. One of the most successful Let's Plays that they ever did was of Danganronpa. And this was one of the very few memes after a certain point in Something Awful's history that went viral. And it went incredibly viral on Tumblr, where many of the Tumblrites were looking at the Danganronpa playthrough on Something Awful boards. And Lowtax realized that all these little shits over on Tumblr were getting quality premium Something Awful content without paying him. This was a horrendous travesty, chat. And so he locked the Let's Play board behind the paygate, and he got exactly what he wanted. all the little Tumblrites, after back and forth and him tightening security and so on, decided to pay $10 and join Something Awful. So en masse, they arrived to play Danganronpa, and they did not leave. So now is the time to inform you that there is a special word near and dear to my heart, which many of you have heard before, but which you may not know the origins of. The word troon is a very popular Kiwi Farms expression for a tranny, and it sounds a little bit nicer than tranny. People seem to think that it means tranny in cartoon, like a caricature of a transgender person, like a negative caricature. It actually means transgender goon, and it started on Something Awful. It was a term of endearment for transgender members of the forum. And even though it did, I can't remember what year it started, but it definitely started to get more popular after the Tumblrites came. Because if you don't know, the Tumblr website is one of the main originators of the modern concept of gender identity. All that shit, I don't know how they did it. It was just like a weird place for teenagers to hang out, basically, and share images of shit. And also bully each other into being anorexic and bulimic. It also somehow became the birthplace of, like, everybody being gender special and a multiple system, and all that shit started with Tumblr, and it moved to Something Awful, and it never ever left. So while Something Awful got its start by kicking out the kids, paywalling the site, banning childish things like leet speak, it was then taken over by the little kids, and whatever remained of the content neutrality, the neutral disposition of the site, very soon faded away permanently. It was around this time, by the way, because if you don't know, these people are extremely liberal. There was a board called Laissez-Faire, and Laissez-Faire was a political debate board on the Kiwi Farms, would probably be closest to mass debates. It was just a place for people to shitpost about politics. One of the things that they made was a thread dedicated to thread raids, where they would organize, hey, this thread is full of conservatard Republican traitors to the United States. Let's go over there and fuck with them en masse. So that made the Laissez-Faire board very, very unpopular. And in November of 2010, they made a thread saying that they're going to assassinate the president of the United States, who at the time was Barack Obama. This resulted in the United States Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service Department, send a grand jury subpoena to Lowtax or Something Awful LLC, demanding the identifying information of all people involved, which resulted in NATO, a goddamn red, which is a communist thing, Aryan Goku 92, and Maggot Master being permanently banned by Lowtax directly for congratulations. The Secret Service has issued a subpoena to Something Awful LLC regarding your post. You're one of the forum's most stupid individuals ever. It was because of this, and also just the aforementioned thread shitting and mass brigading of other places on the site, that Laissez-Faire developed a extremely negative reputation, and at some point Lowtax shut it down. Well, when you shut down a board like that, what happens? Do you think those people just evaporate back to Tumblr or wherever the fuck? No, of course not. They go to other boards. So the cancer metasizes and it spreads, and now every little facet of Something Awful is more and more trunified over time. Also around this time in 2011, Megan, the Asian wife, Crazy Yellow, filed initially for a divorce. However, it was in 2014 where it was finalized. So I kind of believe that she doesn't really believe in divorce because she's so Christian, and tried to make it work. However, after 3 years, they couldn't make it work, so they divorced. Many years later, people discovered that there was a police report filed in 2013 in March, where Megan had called the police because Rich did something. I'll read this. Megan said that she had recently been the victim of domestic assault. Megan said her husband, later identified as Richard Kayenka, were at their house lying in bed about to fall asleep with their 2 children in between them. Megan said that she had her phone in her hand when her husband attempted to take it from her. Megan said that she held onto her phone tight and even bit her husband. Megan said her husband dug his fingernails into her fingers, forcing her to release the phone. Megan said her husband then grabbed her throat and forced her back. Megan was able to break free from his grip, and she grabbed her children and ran out to her car and left the residence in only their pajamas in fear for their safety. Megan said she is willing to aid in the prosecution of her husband, Richard Kayenka. Richard said he had had a few drinks after work and wanted to relax. Richard said that his wife had been keeping tabs on his phone and wanted to see whom or what she was texting. Rich said he reached over his children and grabbed her phone. Rich said things did not get physical. Rich said his wife left the house when he went to sleep. I put Richard under arrest by placing him in handcuffs. I checked for proper fit and double lock for safety. I observed Megan had blood and missing skin from multiple fingers to both hands. I was unable to observe bruising around her neck. Megan refused medical treatment. And I informed her of her rights. So the police officer did observe physical wounds to her fingers, as she described, where Rich dug his fingernails into her skin to try and force her to release her phone, but didn't actually bruise her neck. So the actual physical violence is probably what instigated the divorce. She wanted to make things work, but he was a violent drunk, literally. This ended in alimony. What's the meme with the alimony? Just fucked my shit up. Yeah, just fucked my shit up. He got his shit fucked up. In 2014, the judge ordered that that Richard should pay Megan $1,625 a month in child support and shall also pay her $2,200 a month in maintenance or alimony for 36 months beginning on the 1st of 2014. So she got 3 years of $2,200 a month, and then also for her children up until they were both 18, $1,600 a month in child support. So almost $4,000 a month. At the time where if we go back to the income that was provided by the documentary, see that 2014 is literally the last year of him making more than six figures off registrations. It's from then on that he's under, by a significant amount, under six figures. So he literally can't even make those payments. Like, if you look at this number and divide that by 12, you're not going to get $4,000 a month with enough money to tide things over. Luckily, he put all his money away in savings and bought his house, and his car was paid off, right? And he paid his taxes, right? So he can afford the alimony and the child support, right? So things seem pretty bad for Lowtax. However, in 2014 or 2015, I couldn't figure out for sure, Lowtax got what many people never get. He got a second chance. He met Lady Ambien, as she's called on Something Awful. This is also kind of fucked up. He keeps doing this. He supposedly went to Canada to meet a goonette, another one. And while in Canada, his goonette girlfriend introduced him, kind of show off, be like, hey, this is Rich. He runs a very big website. He has a lot of money, to Lady Ambien. And then Lady Ambien was like, swiggity swooty, he's my boyfriend now. And she stole him from the goonette, which makes Lady Ambien, also known as Ashley, the first love partner of Rich in like at this point 15 years that wasn't somebody from Something Awful. She had his third daughter. So at this point, he has 3 daughters, no sons. That's all the children that he has. And I know, okay, I have to explain that this has conflicting information. I have spoken to Ashley directly. There was a time that I'll get to where I had a reason to be into contact with her, and also Lowtax. And she was very much trying to light a fire under his ass. Like, she really believed that Something Awful could be great again in the right year. Trump was out there, so make Something Awful great again was a meme. She really wanted him to try and resuscitate his site and continue to profit off of it, and to revamp the software and make front page content and so on and so forth. However, she was, I believe, kind of received mixed by the community because she was not a goon. She was not a goon, and People had known, Megan as Mrs. Lowtax for years. Now suddenly there's this new woman in the house, and like it or not, the users of Something Awful felt like kids in a broken house and shit. So she seemed extremely nice to me. She seemed like a great person. Apparently she's had a mixed reputation. A lot of people I spoke to when preparing for this did not like her at all and considered her kind of like a fuck up. However, I genuinely think that she wanted Lowtax to succeed. However, she was introduced to the Lowtax cycle. Number 1 is boot up, stumble out of bed, needing income, announce sequel remake of something that was popular on Something Awful 16 years ago, bask in the hype of nostalgic goons, reward self with pills. Point 2, runtime, discuss progress on project and show samples of work, inviting feedback. Everything shown is shitty and half-assed. Respond smugly and angrily to criticism. Reward self with pills. Phase 3, the BSOD. Use pills to cope with mounting criticism. Melt down when criticism will not stop. Stop providing any updates on projects so people will stop saying it sucks. Step 4, reward self with pills. And finally, in phase 4, shutdown. Step 1, lose motivation to work on project. Step 2, attempt to remotivate self with pills. Step 3, lose motivation to do anything except gobble more pills. Step 4, slip into pill-induced stupor while life crumbles away ever further. And step 5, reward self with pills. So Lowtax was like a known like painkiller addict, and he frequently mixed this with alcohol. It has been memed that he started taking painkillers after getting punched by Uwe Boll. However, I believe it was Ashley or Megan that said that he had had spine issues since his early 20s, and just lied about what caused the spine problem. So it remains unclear to this day where his health complication came from and what the scope of it was. Lowtax would say that his spine is literally crumbling to dust and that the individual like columns were like destroyed, utterly destroyed. But we don't know if that's true. Like, he could have been faking all of it. It's really unclear what the actual scope of his issues were and his necessity for taking opiates. And I actually couldn't find where it started at all. So I don't know. I really just don't know. But it was known that by this point, when he was with Ashley, that he had a serious pill issue. Let me make sure I'm getting my times right before I go into this. Okay, so part of this was that she was made mod for a head mod for Something Awful. So she was put in charge of other mods. Now would be the appropriate time to tell you about the staffing situation. All of the original people, basically, that were involved in Something Awful had disappeared at this point. The two main players, I think by this point, I could be wrong, were Zen Death Robot. And it might have been a little bit after this, but it was around this time that Zen Death Robot, who was basically Lowtax's end-all be-all to unpaid assistance with running the actual web software. He was as far as anyone was concerned, Zen Death Robot was the root admin of Something Awful. And I believe the other main moderator was a guy called Facts Are Useless. Facts Are Useless is one of the most smug, pretentious, ass-licking fuckers I've ever seen in my entire life. He is generally insufferable. There was I'll get into detail later, but he sucked. He was the biggest asshole. And Zen Death Robot was kind of like aloof and just taking care of business behind the scenes, which made him very valuable to Lowtax. So those are the two people he really couldn't cross. But he tried to get in and make Ashley the head mod so that she could make moderating decisions in terms of who goes what where for him. And obviously that was extremely unpopular with the people who were currently running the site. Lowtax also at this point in time began posting on the Kiwi forums. This was not well received on Something Awful. We didn't even have the reputation of being a tranny murder site yet. It was just sort of like, oh my god, they dox people and use dead names. That's heckin' bad and problematic. Don't ever post there. Lowtax, not to be dissuaded, decided that he would post there and everyone else can eat shit. Here he is posting a lovely picture of me I think that this is supposed to be an own because I'm wearing a Trump hat or something. This is one of my best pictures. So soak it in, chat. Soak it in. And then Schmorky happened. It is sort of impossible to understate how much of a watershed moment in Lowtax's history Schmorky being outed as a pedophile was. I did a whole stream on him. So when I talk about him now, I want to just emphasize what his role was in Something Awful and also with Lowtax. So he was outed having weird diaper conversations with it. And in this thread, Lowtax started posting. He confirmed definitely that the weird diaper shit was definitely Lowtax, or definitely Schmorky. This is a 200-page thread on Something Awful about it, and it was this weird thing where the goons were upset that this drama was coming from the Kiwi Farms. There's one side of the goons that were like, we can't ever talk about anything that happens on Kiwi Farms, even if it means one of the most important figures of Something Awful's history is a pedophile into poo-poo pee-pee diapers. We just can't do it. Then the other half was like, no, let's make fun of it, but let's be careful to not criticize Schmorky for being non-binary, because that would be transphobic and heckin' disrespectful, even though he's a pedophile into pee-pee poo-poo diapers. And then there was Lowtax by his lonesome saying, this is fucking ridiculous. And I cannot fucking believe that you would allow this guy to escape any criticism of any type because of what a shithead he is. I want to see, there is an image and I'm missing. I think I might have accidentally lost it. It was, if I don't have it, I'm going to be very disappointed because it's really important. It was a picture of Lowtax posting to Something Awful, and he screen capped a meme from the Kiwi Farms, and it was Schmorky photoshopped over the Bye Bye Man, the poster from, it was a really, really shitty movie. And it was just like a joke about Schmorky. And over on his own forum, he was lamenting the fact that Something Awful had lost this edge and this sense of humor, and were not making the kind of jokes that the Kiwi Farms at that time were making. And he just said, like, I miss when Something Awful was like this and was funny and wasn't hand-wringing about gender and shit. And even though this was a factually accurate statement and was like completely understandable, especially given how close Lowtax was to Schmorky, it was not received well at all. And I think even Facts Are Useless in particular came out and said something like, how about we don't take pointers from the transphobic Nazi doxing site? And the pushback from this pissed him off, and he realized that he had seriously fucked up by allowing these retards to take control of his site because they were not funny, and they were shit, and he hated them. And so, chat, with the backing of his wife, he decided he would go in. He would demod the shitty communist hand-wringing about gender and shit, and he would take the reins back. He would demod anyone who questioned him. He would have his wife implement an entire new suite of I'm looking for that image. Entire new suite of staff. He would fix things up, and Something Awful would be great again. Ah, I found it. Oh my god. Based. Hold up. Oh, this is a quote retweet. Maybe it's funny. Here it is. Okay, and this actually is great because it has the reaction from the community as well. So it says here, crazy ass moments in Something Awful history. Something Awful founder Richard Lowtax Kayanka chastises the posters of Something Awful for not being more like Kiwi Farm, citing a crude Photoshop depicting his former best friend as the Bye Bye Man, now edited to read the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man. And this is what he says. He says, okay, this is from Kiwi Farms. This is the kind of material that is the type of shit we should be producing here. This is the kind of shit we used to produce here until groupthink and PC bullshit took it over because they got tired of dealing with crud. And crud is one of their word filters. Then it's the pee pee poo poo man. Say his name. You won't be laughing when he puts your dick in his mouth and does a very good job of that aspect of the scenario. That is a direct quote from Lowtax or from Schmorky's like sex role play stuff, like sex based role play. Was literally I put my dick in your mouth and do a very good job in that aspect of the scenario. That was like his erotic role play message. So that became a meme. He says, this is funny. This is good. This is also sad that we should be the forums coming up with stuff like this and dumping on Schmorky, but folks are too afraid of being banned or whatever. Humor should come before the worries of, oh, what will Tumblr think of this? And I plan on making some clear changes around here regarding this. And they will be very good at that aspect of the scenario. So, as he said here, I talked to my daughter, Lauren, in real life today and yesterday, had to explain sex fetishes of fucked up adults to her, had to explain pedophilia to her, had to explain sociopaths to her. Not a great couple of days, not how I want to spend them, but she's pissed at Smurky and wants to vent just as much as I. So it was serious. It was a wake-up call to him that not only about the site, but like about how his laziness and his complacency allowed genuinely dangerous people near him because he just wasn't paying enough attention, and he wanted to fix that. I kind of want to show you why Schmorky was so oh, it was on the next fucking row of images. That's why I lost it. I kind of want to show you why this was so important. This is one of the memes that Schmorky made. Schmorky was a Flash animator. He made things called for Flash Tub. Flash animation was very important to the early internet. This is one of my favorite things that he made. This song is so catchy. I'll listen to it like on my own.
I'm a guy who likes to work on my car. I like to take it apart and put it back together. I get to working on it and forget where I am, what time it is. I even forget to eat. You don't forget to smoke, though. I always smoke when I work. I like Marlboro flip-top box. I like flip-top box. I like flip-top box. Flip-top box. Flip-top box. I like Marlboro.
These are old style animations. They were made in Adobe Flash, and they're very popular. These were all the Flash animations made for Something Awful over the years. A lot of them are by Schmorky. And they were very popular, and they competed. They put Something Awful in competition with other very popular sites at the time, such as Albino Black Sheep, one of the sites that we used to pull up on the iMac in the 5th grade classroom. It had Happy Tree Friends, which was like a weird gore movie that was like a fun animal kids show, like Masquerade. They had Salad Fingers, I remember, bunch of stuff. And then you also had Newgrounds, which is still alive to this day. And that was also like a massive site full of Flash animation. So Something Awful and Schmorky putting out these animations kind of kept them in the popular zone of like pre-YouTube videos on the internet. And one of the videos that he made, for instance, was this.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Jill, and she sounded like this. I love princesses. And then she said, after that, a terrible, wicked, meanie, fat beast came. And then she said, Jalen said, oh no. And then she said, what's going to happen? And then she said, oh no. And then she said, what is going to happen? And then she ran away as quick as she can. And while she was running, she talked to a magical broom and said, where is she coming? Oh no, oh no. And then a beautiful fairy came in, and her name was Lauren. She said, do you need help? And Jalen said, yes. And then the fairy said, what do you need help with, Jalen? Because a terrible thing is about to happen. What is it? A terrifying fat monster. Oh, with hair. I must stop it. Bachoom, fairy power, bachoom. And the skeleton monster, hairy fat monster with lots of hair, was never seen again. The
Lowtax allowed this guy, this creepy, weird gender blob, to enter his house and record his children so that he can make like cartoons out of their play pretend. That's how close he was to Lowtax. And I believe that when Lowtax had this happen and Smorky was out as a pedophile and he had to really like think back about how much if Smorky ever had even a second alone with them, he was so angry and he really wanted a catharsis of bullying this fucking retard with his community, and he couldn't get that. And it spurred within him a kind of like righteous indignation that he had never ever felt in his entire life. So he really committed to trying to change something awful. And he really wanted to go after them. He really wanted to go, especially all those fucking mods that were making so he couldn't have that catharsis on his site. He tried segregating. He literally tried segregating all the black posters to a board called Negro Town or something. And like he made all these weird changes and they were not well received, but he didn't care. And then Ashley had a great idea. And I really, if I remember correctly, it was her idea. She said, why don't you start a Patreon? He already had a Patreon. He's like, why don't you just advertise it, you know, for something awful? So he did. In March of 2019, he told people, if you want to support something awful, donate to my gaming garbage Patreon. And he was getting $15,000 a month from 2,000 patrons. So his issue with the shrinking registrations solved. His existing users were willing to pay a couple bucks each a month to keep the site up. He now had the money to basically fix all of his problems all at once. He also was at this time, and I believe it was suffering to try and find this. I dug through all of his old streams to try and find the last time that his daughter, this is Lauren, you just heard her in the flash animation. She's 15 here, and she's with him in his house, and they're streaming together, and this was in April 26, 2019. So he was concerned about his site again. He felt like he had to apologize to his daughter and make things up to her, even though she wasn't hurt, according to them. So he was interacting with his kids more in the real life, with, you know, his new wife's permission and stuff. He was making money, and everything was going well, chat. Everything was laid out in front of him, and he had the opportunity to set things straight, to get rid of the tranny mods, to make the money, to rekindle his relationship with his family, and to move forward with his new wife and new daughter, chat. And he fucked. Wait, sorry, I meant to pause this. He fucked it all up. He fucked everything up. Literally everything. At some point, for whatever fucking reason, he decided that he was going to spend no effort into the things that he was pissed off about. He was going to allow the status quo to exist. He let Facts Are Useless decide what to do with the moderation, and Ashley also gave up trying to fix anything because Lowtax wouldn't back her up on it. So Facts Are Useless took over the site de facto as head mod. And also, he was afraid of losing Zen Death Robot, because if he lost Zen Death Robot, he'd have to pay out money from his Patreon to hire somebody else to fix that. He was so afraid of losing everything that he decided to do nothing until he lost everything. However, actually, he did make one final move as a businessman in charge of his community, chat. He decided to take a business trip to Salt Lake City, Utah for a pitch. And so we enter chapter 4, the demise. Meet, up until this point, I've kind of segmented everything into his girlfriend eras, because that is the easiest way to compartmentalize times and space with something awful, spending 20 years. Enter Logan Day. Logan Day is an ex-Mormon, BPD, borderline personality disorder, coke whore, from Salt Lake City, Utah. And he moved out, or flew out, to meet her on Thanksgiving Day weekend in 2019. And his wife, Ashley, knew that it was a cheating thing. She found out somehow. She knew that he was leaving on Thanksgiving Day week to hang out with some whore in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it was not a mystery to her. So when he comes back to his home, he finds it empty. And he announces this on Facebook. So at this point, he's kind of withdrawn from the forum. He gave up on his ambitions of trying to fix anything. And he just publicly tanked his relationship with the only other person who ever tried to fix the site. He announces publicly on Facebook, what's the word for when you're in the middle of a divorce and you're out of town and then your wife steals $3,000 from your business checking account and disables her phone and takes a bunch of her clothes and her pets and your daughter and flees the state, even though she has no immigration papers or driver's license? Asking for myself. Even though he was married to Ashley, she was Canadian. She was an illegal immigrant to the United States, and he never filed for her adjustment of status inside the U.S. And then he says, fun new update. My wife and my daughter are, according to the police, somewhere in the area, but they cannot tell me where because if a woman claims to be afraid of a man and they don't require any evidence to do so, they can take your family members and hide for as long as they want. This is absolutely fucking insane. I've never threatened or laid a hand on my wife, yet all she has to do is claim she's afraid of me and is legally allowed in Missouri to stay hidden with certain organizations indefinitely. Not to sound like a red pill man going his own way, but it's absolutely insane that a woman can take your child away from you by just claiming she is scared without requiring any proof or evidence. This is absolutely fucked. So my man comes home from Salt Lake City. He just dipped his stick into crazy, and he's already immediately reaping the repercussions of it. The result of this was that his Patreon started to collapse. Immediately, he was losing about $1,000 a month from his Patreon because people, remember, this is the super woke crowd, and suddenly daddy is getting Me Too'd by his second wife. So things were not looking too good for him. Also, he was apparently cheating, though this remained denied. Let me get this right. This is also around the time that a text message leaks, and I want to say, I don't remember exactly when this was. I want to say this is around this time. This is in 2019. I want to say like April. Where was this? It's around this, actually. I think it's around April 2020 or something. But a text message exchange with his daughter, Lauren, comes out. And he says, or she says, how is that a phrase from Ashley? And that's not even what I was trying to say. I said that an emotional affair is a valid affair. It's a common sense. So he's trying to say, he's trying to defend, she's pissed that her dad is cheating again. She says that's unacceptable because she's a little girl and even she knows that cheating is bad, right? So she says, even if it was not a sexual affair and was only an emotional affair, i.e. he's denying having sex with Logan, even though it's obvious that he would fly out to Salt Lake City, Utah to have sex with her. He's saying, no, it wasn't sexual. It was only emotional cheating. His daughter calls her out on that and says that is still cheating, to which Lowtax allegedly replied, there is no point in talking to you. You've already made up your mind and judged me. And you think you know the entire situation here because you've somehow experienced everything and know everything that's happened. You have zero idea how inappropriate it is for you to take a role of an adult and lecture me. I do not even want to talk to you or see you or even acknowledge you because much like the Bible, you seem to see everything in black and white, despite the fact you know nothing about relationships. And I've always been honest with you and never judged you, and now you're playing relationship expert. You play no role in the relationship between two adults, and you can take your half-assed judgment and fucking shove it. So this severed the relationship between him and his oldest daughter. I looked at every single gaming garbage. I could not find another one after this text message supposedly came out where Lauren showed up in as a second player for his games or movie watching or whatever. So he completely fucked it up. I do believe that this is real, by the way. This is, I want to say just no. Okay, so this is this text message is mid 2019, and this is in December. So at this point, he's trying to drum up his Patreon again because it's collapsing by because again, in his mind, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand that what that Patreon is for the forum. It is the community enjoying the community. He, again, as he did when he started the site, seems to believe that he is the main draw, and that people are going there to read his funny blog messages and watch his funny YouTube gaming garbage streams. And really, they're not. They're there for the community, and he is just the guy that runs it, right? So he's doing his gaming garbage shit, and this is one of the things that he's putting out to try and entertain people. This was around the time that YouTube Shorts were becoming a thing, so he decides to try his hand at doing a YouTube Short. Let's watch the comedy stylings of Richard Lowtax Kayenka in 2019.
What is the fucking point of this? I'm sitting on the toilet, by the way. Nobody's watching this. YouTube told me that I need to make stories for some reason. So here's a YouTube story. I walked into my bathroom. I'm taking a big old shit. So, I'm just gonna sit here. Am I okay? Yeah. I'm taking a shit. YouTube told me that I need to make stories. And so here's my story. I figured I'd make it on the toilet. Because why not? I would show you the toilet. Well, here, maybe I can go over without showing my dick. See, there's the back of the toilet. But I'm shitting.
Thanks, Lowtax. Very cool. His gaming garbage never took off, ever. I can show you his streams, like his catalog, in a second. However, by the end of 2019, he had fucking had it. His affair with Ashley had become public knowledge. His Patreon was tanking. Nobody was watching gaming garbage. His daughter was not talking to him anymore because she thought he was a piece of shit, because he is one. And the forum was constantly ridiculing him. So he decided on Christmas, or sorry, not on Christmas, but New Year's Eve 2019, that he was going to have a little fun. And I present to you the funniest gaming garbage stream that he had ever had. Now this is a post that I meant to read, but this kind of explains how during this time where Logan was kind of involved, he was trying to make her sound like she was the chief operating officer of something awful. She wasn't a fuck maid. She wasn't piece of ass. She wasn't woman I'm cheating on my wife with. She was the chief operating officer of something awful. And she was put into a management position of the company, and the people there were supposed to believe that she was there for that purpose. So as he's arguing with them, he says, okay, before I try to do anything, I'd like to completely understand what the most important goals you want to reach are. Are you more concerned with eliminating all forms of transphobia from the forums, or are you just shutting down fuck you and die? Fuck you and die was the most conservative area of something awful until it was obliterated. I don't know if they ever brought that back. I think they did. Yes, please resist the urge of saying both, because I'm honestly trying to gauge public opinion here. 2, if an individual from a different forum mocks a member of this thread for something they post and it has nothing to do with the gender or sexuality of or anything remotely associated with being trans, should that individual be punished? So this is, I think, in the actual tranny thread, because there was like a big troon thread on something awful, and they were getting doxxed and laughed at on the Kiwi Farms, and then also elsewhere in Fuck You and I remember this now. It's coming back to me. It's coming back in waves. They're also getting made fun of in Fuck You and Die. So the Troons are going, oh my god, Kiwi Farms and Fuck You and Die are both making fun of us. That means that Fuck You and Die is full of Nazi transphobe bigots from Kiwi Farms. Do you not understand? So he's asking, like, what the fuck do you want? Should I ban everyone there because they're Kiwi Farms Nazi bigots? Or do you want me to just shut down the board? Or like, what are you trying to get me to do? He's actually trying to understand what they're doing. And that's just an example of like the ongoing trash fire that was Something Awful's internal politics at the time, that a man very drunk and very high on painkillers completely by himself for the first time in a decade is trying to navigate on his own. Number 3, if a thread is created in a different forum mocking certain aspects of this thread, but none of the comments have anything to do with gender or sexuality or anything remotely associated with being trans, should all those people participating in the thread be banned or the thread itself deleted? Number 4, if you had your own private invite-only forum that can only be read by people invited to that group by other members of that group, do you think that would solve any issues? P.S. I'll delete the troon entry. I've always hated that stupid word anyways. So this is, by the way, the watershed moment where the word troon was disowned by Something Awful, and I stole it, and it's mine now. and you can't ever have it back, and it will never be a good thing ever again, because Lowtax said it's no longer something awful glossary term. Congratulations, chat. But Crunk is making fun of them. Like, you can't negotiate with these people. They will never be happy. These people, these kinds of people, just want to cause problems. They are not there to have fun. They are not there to be a part of a community. They cannot create. They cannot enjoy. Their enjoyment comes from finding things that are already extant, that already work, that people already like, and destroying them from the inside out. So you cannot create new things for them to fill with their own bounties, because that's not how they operate. They work by going to existing things that are already nice and fucking them up. Which is true. It's a true statement. So shortly after this post, this is December 29th, 2019. 2 days later, it's New Year's Eve. And what better way to spend New Year's Eve than streaming gaming garbage to your audience while drunk and high? This stream was so funny and so awesome that I created at the time, 2 days later, a montage of some of its best moments. You may remember this if you are a longtime listener. If not, enjoy. I had to hunt this down because I lost it.
The people, it's so easy to tell the people from Kiwi Farms, because they're the ones who are constantly over analyzing everything in my life, because they do not have a life of, they don't have a life themselves. So they have to live through me. Live through me, Kiwi Farms. Bunch of retards. Yeah, I said retards. I mean, I've found trans people to be sexy. I've watched trans videos before. They're hot, by the way. Yes, my wife is in a shelter. My wife is in a battered woman's shelter, because apparently I'm a Nazi. Everybody here is a Nazi, and I am the leader of the Nazi party. You guys can post about like hating me in here, and I will ban you in real time. You're gone. That is, this is live ban. Oh, okay, this guy gets banned. Yep, getting rid of this guy. Wow! I haven't been drinking, so... Is this ban worthy? What do you guys think? I'm gonna leave this up to you. Okay, I'll get rid of this guy too, because he's just empty clothes. I'm violently transphobic now. I'm a transphobic Nazi. Live ban. Okay, this person goes absolutely having a meltdown. I'm going crazy here. Have you just thought about logging off, as funny as this shit is? No, this is actually entertaining. Nobody is telling me who the transphobes are. Everybody hates me. You guys are all Nazis, and you all hate trans people, just like me. I took a break from hating transsexuals and loving Nazis to show you my pig pants. Clipping gold mine, yeah. Someone's gonna take all this stuff and put it together. That will be cool. I can't wait for that. I just wanted to stream some video games, but instead I became Hitler.
Back in the days when I used to just stream on Wednesday. Now I stream on Wednesday and Tuesday, in case you're curious. One of my finest works, if I do say so myself. I very, very, very fondly remember that stream. I watched it live, and it was a great time had by all, except for the goons, who were extremely upset that Papa Lowtax was having fun at their expense. Unfortunately, he did not have a lot of fun, and the backlash to that was a lot of mods crying, a lot of bans being unlifted, so on and so forth. So that ushers in the year of 2020. We're getting very close, but we still have a lot to get through. One of the things that happened immediately after the clock struck 12 on January 21st, 2020, Megan, who you may remember as the ex-wife, linked up with Ashley. So now Lowtax doesn't just have one baby mama after him. He's got two baby mamas working together. So Megan helps her set up a GoFundMe, because she is literally living in a battered woman's shelter. That's not a joke. She was in a shelter at the time because... fun fact, you may not know this, in the United States of America, if you have an immigrant spouse or parent, mother of your child in the country, and they are alleging that you abuse them, they cannot be deported. As long as they're staying in an emergency shelter, they cannot be deported because there's a special protection for women who are extorted by their immigration status to stay within the country. So for months and months, Ashley and her baby were staying in a dormitory in a women's shelter for the purposes of being able to stay within the United States while all the ongoing legal issues were being resolved. So Megan put up a GoFundMe for some living expenses, and she writes, I apologize for any general vagueness in our story, but as we're still in hiding, it's necessary to keep us safe. 2 months ago, my daughter and I left my now estranged husband and entered a domestic violence shelter after nearly 5 years of abuse. My name was kept off the bank account, and I was not allowed my own card to access it. This made saving to leave nearly impossible without it being noticed. I have a foreign account, but I am unable to gain access to it without being in that country. Due to my marriage, I was kept isolated. I have no parents or siblings. I am an immigrant who was halfway through my legal immigration process, and my undocumented status was, and still is, being used by my husband as a way to control and abuse me. I am currently working with a legal aid immigration lawyer to help me stay legally within the country under the Violence Against Women Act. My estranged husband has made public declarations about his intent to have me deported without our daughter, who is now 3.5. As of now, he is asking for full legal and physical custody of our daughter while also falsely accusing me of being violent and a danger to her in an attempt to flip the script. If he is successful in his efforts to deport me, I will be kept out of the country for 10 years without my daughter, and it is extremely unlikely he will make efforts for me to be part of her life given his vindictive behavior towards me now. If he wins this custodial fight and is successful in attempting to make false allegations, I will lose custody of her and be forced to have supervised visitation. Right now, I am in a very difficult position of having to ask for financial help because I am currently in a position of legal limbo, and am becoming fearful that he will follow through with his threats of having me charged with parental abduction, despite him knowing that we are in a shelter. I contacted legal aid this week. We left, and I am still proactively waiting to get an answer as to whether the board has approved taking on my divorce case. I would be endlessly grateful for any funds that could be used to help protect my daughter from this abusive behavior, and his attempts to keep her from me is another way of control, punish, and abuse me. Keeping her with me also protects her from the escalation of abuse towards her as she grows older. Anything donated would be used for potential legal fees if legal aid is ultimately denied. Decided that they will not take my case. Sorry, that is a mouthful. That's a very dense paragraph, so I didn't read that too well. She asked for $3,000. They very quickly raised $3,000, and the GoFundMe was closed. She did not accept more money than $3,000, and it appears that all the money from the GoFundMe went to the stated purpose of resolving the legal issues. This is the point to mention now that Carol, Lowtax's mother, was highly engaged in the lawfare against his baby mamas. As a lawyer who knows everybody in Missouri, where all these jurisdictions are taking place, she had a lot of sway and a lot of contacts and a lot of pull to make things as fucking awful as possible for everyone involved. She was very involved in making sure that these women did not get away with everything without fighting for it. Which is why when I talk about her, I say that she is a very cold, vindictive person, and that appears to be a thing that's shared by Lowtax. This is in response to people accusing him of cheating on her with Logan. They maintain that there was not a sexual relationship between them for a very long time. Gluehuffer69 says, in reply to, actually, let me just read the Lowtax post first. Lowtax says, everything that I've said so far was cleared by my lawyer, whereas her GoFundMe clearly has not. I did not blab like an idiot. I disclosed everything I could, then shut the fuck up when my lawyer told me to. You really do not know anything about what's going on here, so hold your insults after the legal action has been finished and I'm able to talk about the results. Bluehuffer69 asks, can we talk about your new girlfriend? Since she was on your live stream earlier and it's kind of official now instead of wink wink rumors. Will she be on tonight? It was cool seeing new stuff happen on the stream. This guy very, very cleverly dresses up his questions about Logan Day as being, oh, are we going to get to meet the new woman? To try and get him to talk about how they're in a relationship, but he denies it. He does not fall for this trick, and he goes, I do not have a new girlfriend, so I would appreciate not speculating about that and various other things that you read from people who spend their lives obsessing over analyzing my life. I wonder who that could be, chat. Definitely not me. This is Logan's account. Unfortunately, Art. She says, don't know if anyone cares since you're all talking about bring your own beer goblin for some reason, but I thought I'd say something since my name was brought up a few times. I'm a woman, first name of Logan, last name of Day. I'm not in a relationship with anyone, much less Lowtax. I don't wear anybody's clothes but my own. It's fucking weird that anyone would say otherwise. I think that they accused her of wearing Ashley's clothes. My involvement with something awful, and by extension, gaming garbage, is as a marketing strategist. This is what I do for a living. My goal is to make buku amounts of money for myself and also rich Q booze, or bringing in a newer, younger audience. Fatalistic morons on the web often say that something awful is dead for good, but it's an old brand that needs a refresh and a cohesive message. And that's where I come in. I do not plan to change the heart of what makes this site great. I also have lots of developer peers, so part of my plan involves bringing this website up to modern web standards. This is a behemoth of a project, but it is a dream for one for me as I first started posting here in 2006, and I particularly like working with entertainment brands. I have no desire to be an admin of these forums, nor do I have the time. I would rather, and I cannot stress this enough, saw off my own arm and sodomize myself with it vigorously. I'm a businesswoman, and my primary interest lies in large deposits of cash money hitting my checking account. But I also have a passion for the particular brand of comedy this website provides. This was way too long, but that's my spiel. So be clear, chat. They're not fucking. She's making a killing for him. They are partners in crime, chat, not partners sexually. That would be inappropriate. This is her showing up on the stream with alcohol, by the way. If you want to see the face of a man who just got caught fucking crazy, this is the face of a man who just got caught on live fucking crazy. Unfortunately, it was not in 4K. You get this resolution. I would prefer this moment be captured in 8K high quality drone footage, but this works. This is a very famous post made after the previous back and forth between Logan and people speculating about the relationship and her showing up on stream and him getting sued and so on and so forth. Tehran 1979 has a thought. He sits down and with 100% of his brain power comes up with a possible solution to Lowtax's problems. He says, I've given this a lot of thought and I want you to bear with me here, Lowtax. I think your entire situation in life could easily be solved by a genuine, honest-to-God suicide. I'll go over the pros and cons. Pros. Dead dad is better than emotionally abusive and manipulative living dad who can somehow manage to lose a public argument with the wife who is divorcing him despite the fact that you're the only one of the two who has ever talked about it publicly. 2. You'd no longer be a strain on the forums or society. The charity money that gets donated to this archaic piece of shit site updated will actually go to it instead of your IRS bills, unfettered by association to your outright embarrassing attempt at being a streamer. 3. Depending on the method of suicide, you might finally be able to cure your faggoty helium voice that you spent the majority of your life compensating for by being zany. 4. Think of all the rest you would be getting where you no longer need to fly into humiliating rants about how every single person ever associated with you has turned out to be secretly the bad guy, except for you. Oh no, not you. And 5. Dead people don't need spines. Cons. There are none. I don't want you to think this is just something I'm casually posting. Do not reject it hastily. I'm willing to work with you here on coming to accept what, with any amount of thought, is the obvious solution to your problems. I am here for you. The user was banned for this post. He was banned directly by Lowtax, specifically, who I suppose did not immediately take to heart what he was trying to say. But this post may now have some historical significance, Sean. This is some more back and forth with Logan and Lowtax on the forum. I'm not sure how much of this I want to read because Logan is very cringe and this whole thing was just like embarrassing. I'll read one or two of each. Logan says, hey guys, Logan here. Heather Paps is doing a fantastic job of explaining and organizing all this. Thanks, man. Please email me at logan@somethingawful.com with your ideas. We're looking to expand it to all sorts of mediums, articles, videos, thinking about including miscellaneous video content on the YouTube channel to be determined. Social media content, big. We need small, bite-sized, funny content that people will share on social media that directs them to something awful, etc. The goal here is being a full-fledged entertainment publisher. As ad revenue starts rolling in soon, we'll be able to pay consistent contributors. One day, and this is a big goal, I'd like for us to produce feature films, Doomhouse 3 or the notorious Cybertroll 2000. Web shows, and even cool audience-driven live streams. For now, anything that's funny gets the eyeballs is needed. We need you, goons. We want this to be weird, and we want to make fun of the lowercase I internet. Think something awful circa 2005, but make it modern and relevant to the community's current vibe. Content guide in the works. We'll share those whose ideas tickle both myself and Lowtax. Thanks. Corporate speak. We love it. Gotta love it. Let's see what Lowtax has to say. I bet she has a vision board. Oh, if only you knew. Lowtax says, Jesus fucking Christ, you people are always looking for things to bitch about. I've always paid writers for the site. There have always been a 2-month trial period because I learned around 2002 or so that people would take money and disappear. By having a trial period, we are able to filter out people who are and who are not consistent and reliable and are interested in writing in a scheduled manner for something awful. It's literally been like this for 2 decades now. None of this will be affecting the forums. I know outrage and drama is really cool and great and helpful right now, and people are bitching for absolutely any reason to put down any plans we've had for the front page, but perhaps you don't recall the days when the forum users bitched about the money from the forums went to pay writers for the front page because the money was supposed to apparently go to the back to the forum because the purchasers did not read the front page. None of this shit affects any of you. None of this shit will change the forum in any way. This is all an attempt to at least bring some ad revenue from the front page, and I'm hiring people based on that exact same qualification standard I always have. Fucking lay off the dramatic hyperbole of unpaid labor and ads will save the site, because this shit is absolutely primarily targeted to a completely different section of the site, one you do not interact with, and one that generates nearly zero income. Compare any front page article on Something Awful to any article on CNN or Vice or whatever, count the number of ads we display here compared to them, then feel free to fuck off with your retarded pedantry and pointless bitching. It's generally how we handled a lot of criticism. So their plans in general, to sum this up, was that they were going to start pulling in free writers from the forum, publish their work, and then find a way to make ad revenue off of that. And Lowtax later revealed in, I don't know when this was. Do I have a note for that? No, I do not have a date for this, but a couple months after announcing this plan to get content writers, he says, in response to Macasaurus, who posted, how many of Lowtax's Patreons are giving him money to watch him stream? Like 10%? 85% are forums people, and at least 5% are wondering when Schmorky is coming back. Funny post. Lowtax says, what does this have to do with anything? Let's say that 100% forum people who contribute to the Patreon. The reason I stream is because I have a lot of fun doing it. The reason why I stopped posting here is, in case you might have missed it, because random people constantly attempt to specifically irritate me for whatever purely logical reason in their minds. I don't enjoy dealing with the hostility and passive aggressive shit. Like even the crap y'all are giving Logan, how does any of what she could do affect you in any way? I still run the place. I still make all final decisions. I'm not going to agree to something I don't believe in, and there are zero plans for anything to intersect with the forum or affect them. She's volunteering her work for branding and front page stuff. If the shit doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Nothing lost. Doesn't affect any of you at all anyway. And he adds, if any of you have emailed me regarding the front page brand integration and donating your free time to help generate more revenue through there, I apologize, as I apparently missed your email. To the best of my knowledge, I have never received a single offer, particularly from the people in this thread ripping on somebody who hasn't even started working on anything front page related yet. So he received from his community, in response to the sweeping changes that Logan Day wanted to make to the front page of Something Awful to make it a relevant website in 2016, or what fucking year is this? 2020. Oh, geez. Despite her plans, nobody stepped up to the plate. Nobody lifted a single pinky finger to help poor Logan and Lowtax accomplish their well thought out vision that definitely didn't happen after they had sex to justify them meeting in the first place without it being cheating on Ashley, who was somebody that the forum maybe didn't 100% like, but at least liked a lot more than Logan Day. Finally, Lowtax posted this picture of, I believe, him visiting his daughter, who is now 4 in this picture, I believe, saying vindication. And as far as I'm aware, this is the last picture of the third daughter. I don't even know her name. I apologize. But he randomly posted this on Facebook and said, vindication. This became a meme. Anytime anything happened in the courtroom related to Lowtax and his divorce and the custody and so on and so forth, people would say vindication, because it was almost always, from this point forward, bad news for Lowtax. For instance, speaking of bad news, the court decided, because this was a complex custody case, that there needed to be a guardian ad litem. What is a guardian ad litem, you may ask me, chat? A guardian ad litem is a court-appointed representative for the interests of the child. You have parent A and parent B. They are upset over something. They are suing each other. There is a child in the mix. Well, how do you know to trust parent A or parent B? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they may have conflicting interests, and the child is a linchpin to both of their legal arguments, and nobody can be trusted to be 100% representing the interests of the child. That is when the court will step in and say, we need to have a guardian ad litem who will make decisions, legal decisions for the child on behalf of the court that the child cannot make by themselves in the interest of the child that neither parent can be trusted with. Fun fact, guardian ad litems are not free. And when a guardian ad litem is appointed, somebody's going to be paying for one. And that might be, if it's a very long legal process that your mother is dragging out in the courts for years for no reason other than to piss people off, that may be tens of thousands of dollars. Spoiler alert. The point of showing this post, by the way, was that the guardian ad litem was named Dana Outlaw, which is one of the most awesome fucking names for a attorney ever. It's like a name that's meant to be branding. Like, you're supposed to go by Outlaw Esquire. That's just cool. Anyways, Dana was representing the child, and meanwhile, at the tax mansion, Lowtax apparently was having a good old time with his current BPD side piece, who one day decided to announce on Facebook, not on one day in particular, by the way, on June 2020, announced to the world, got backhanded onto the ground and feared for my safety due to a literal grown man standing over me, but still sleeping in a hotel despite qualifying as a tenant under Missouri law. Anyway, we'll talk to a lawyer in the morning. Good night, ZZZ. People reply saying, what the fuck? Are you okay? I'm sorry someone did that to you. Oh no, please stay safe, Logan. The community would not survive without you. That's funny. Corey says, are you doing, Corey says, are you doing okay? Make sure to take a note, video or otherwise, of what happened. Anything is still fresh in your mind. Blah, blah, blah. So this began the absolute total and utter destruction of Lowtax. It is now 2020. We are in the swing of believe all women, hashtag, Me Too, all that shit. And Something Awful is the most woke place on the planet. And now at this point, Lowtax doesn't deserve any benefit of a doubt. This is like the third woman in his life that has accused him of being physically violent towards them. However, Logan is special. Logan is a special kind of really annoying. The day after she posted this, she decided to join the Kiwi Farms and elucidate to everyone what actually happened. I want to point out, this is her picture. This is her account. She made this herself. And the username is Mormon BPD Coke Whore. She picked that name by herself. And to the point where when I verified her account as belonging to her, I made special note that she picked her own name, because otherwise it would seem like I'm being a dickhead. And no, that was not me. That was her. So don't even try. Let's read this. Hey guys, it's Bogan Lay, young lady here, using my favorite pseudonym you gifted me. It's funny, you guys have a good time, clearly. Even though neither of the three elements of my username apply in any way, I still think it's the best username I've ever been gifted. Thank you. Hope you are somewhat pleasant about my presence here, but I'm no stranger to what this forum is about. There's only so many ways you can call me plastic or crazy, plastic surgery, ugly, and a useless amount of space, and you people have just about covered the brunt of that entirely from what I still read this way back when post 18 Gen Z wasn't doing slutty dances on video. My question for you is this a date night activity with your lovers to post hateful things on these forums? If not, definitely live stream your attempts. I'm sure it would be very sexy with lots of hot bods. You all have hot bods, right? That's how you're so readily able to pass judgment, right? Of course. Please do post your beach bods, lads, and we harlots will be able to rate you. Just know, hermanos, I rate for pizzazz. Do a Fortnite dance, boys, and I'll give you a good score, kissy face. Anyways, I've been instructed not to post here ever under any circumstances, but since my dog shit leaked out, I might as well address it. Last night, I had a severe panic attack. I received news that my dear maternal grandmother had passed away suddenly, and I was distraught. Unfortunately, I was all alone upstairs, and I went downstairs to try and rouse Rich from his peaceful doze. He's a very peaceful person, always has been. Unfortunately, when I rose him, I was way too forceful in my hysteria, and he mistook my rousing as slamming him on his cervical disc, which are central points of pain. That was not at all intentional, and I would never purposefully harm a person. Anybody who has ever known me has known that I am not a violent person, but he felt unsafe, which is deeply unfortunate, and I certainly don't blame him since he was roused awake very suddenly. Now, the period in which I felt I had been backhanded, this was unfortunately my word to describe it, was actually explained to me afterward that Rich had awoken after my rousing him and attempted to stand upright on sweaty toes. And he fell into the desk near the side of the wall, thereby sending me falling onto the ground below. I mistook it as being an action of malice against me, but when we revised the events, it was clear that I hadn't fully understood the events due to my panic attack. Thank God for Ativan from my psychiatrist. I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for Rich for patiently explaining the events that my panic mind couldn't interpret in a state of profound grief. I was irresponsible to awaken Rich when he was sleeping, even though I needed support. In my panic, my memory was hazy, and I accused him of intentionally hurting me when he could do nothing of the sort. Jay Mean, for goodness sakes, he has limited mobility at the best and frankly total immobility in truth to truly harm a healthy young 26-year-old girl. Rich called the police himself to ensure everyone was taken care of. It was decided that I needed some time away from my business partner for an evening so we could come back together with clear heads and not he said, she said. No report was taken. It was simply a matter of a young woman losing her grandfather and taking the inappropriate steps to receive support in the midst of a panic attack. Thankfully, I have medication prescribed for that sort of occurrence, and Rich was quick to help me remember to take them when I was able to return to his home. It was decided that I should stay the night at a hotel because no individual was at fault or causing any problematic disturbance. It was just determined that the time apart would be most healthy and beneficial for all parties involved. Rich acted completely honorably. I was the dingus in this situation. Rich is strong, and I admire strong, but he's unable to stand up. And I admire that he is letting me have a safe place to stay until I find next steps for me. Rich is a man with a great deal of honor. I've had less kind treatment from the police in my life. Rich is a class act, and I would trust him with any young person experiencing a panic attack or worse. Any questions, let me know. I'm so grateful that everyone is safe. Nobody was unsafe at any point, and it's my fault for making that seem different at any point. Anyway, go ahead and call me a whore, but Rich is a class act great guy, and I can't wait to pay respects to my grandfather in October when LA County reopens for wakes. Peace. Let me just explain. This is what an artist rendition of her looks like. My poor Logan Day stumbles down into the opium dungeon that Lowtax resides in, laying peacefully as a man can lay, like a vampire in a coffin. And Logan attempts to rouse him from his slumber by shaking him violently, screaming, "My grandfather!" in the midst of a panic attack. However, she accidentally hits a critical hit on Lowtax because she decides to shake him specifically at the vertebrae that is collapsed into dust for the whatever medical condition Lowtax has, which is causing his spine to collapse to dust. This causes him immense pain, and so in an act of sudden shock and terror, he wakes up and slaps her in the face and says, "Begone, bitch!" Which would, of course, be anyone's first reaction to being shaken awake by a crying person. So obviously this story did not fly very well. All this Kiwi Farm shit ended up on Something Awful. They were, of course, making fun of her for even posting on the Kiwi Farms because of the transphobic Nazi doxing site, so on and so forth. At this point, his Patreon collapses to $700. For whatever reason, the whole divorce saga with Ashley did not cause his Patreon to collapse. It instead was Logan Day and the slap that finally got people to like unsubscribe from his Patreon. And I really don't know why. It's bizarre because Ashley was so much more likable and like a real person, and Logan was like insane. So her whole shtick, why that got people to unsubscribe, I really don't know. However, it was very coordinated, and it accomplished the desired results. What happened is that Lowtax sold Something Awful. There was a moderator on the board called Jeffrey of Yazpaz, which I don't remember the fucking acronym, but Jeffrey was allegedly a crypto millionaire. And so he was able to buy Something Awful for about $400,000, which is the amount that came out later. And Lowtax was finally and completely divorced from Something Awful. Logan Day had a conversation with me, and I'm going to re-upload this to my site because I think that it's gone now. And I just kind of like had her walk through her line of events and her story, and she was very unconvincing, and she had a very manipulative way of speaking that did not work on me, and it was very obvious that it wasn't working with me because she would swing between different emotions very quickly to try and compel me to sympathize with her. And I don't remember it too well, but that was after Something Awful was sold anyway, so at that point it didn't matter. This was his announcement that he had sold Something Awful. He says, "Serious post. I just shook hands and agreed to the exclusive sale of Something Awful and all its assets. If you're screen capping this, it's because 2 weeks ago, an extremely vocal group of forum users went ballistic and stirred up so much shit by publicly lying about me that eventually a large portion of Something Awful's users and moderators threatened to mass migrate off-site. Why? Because a blackout drunk bipolar woman had accused me of hitting her while I was bedridden and waiting for an epidural. I had degenerative disc disease, and it was to ease the pain of a collapsed disc in my neck, pushing up against a nerve and rendering my body randomly useless but constantly in pain. Since then, this woman has tried to block me out of my own website, change the contact information of our ad revenue to her name, and avoid my blocks on her phone and text by getting a new number. I have included a sample of the shit she sends me. This is a woman people felt was trustworthy enough to believe and fight for. I would like to thank the countless people who have stood silently by my side during this ridiculous ordeal. And I'd like to say great job of being completely gullible tools to the people who did not. You're a bunch of dense-ass motherfuckers who believe the following text messages are from a credible and reliable source. GG, next map in my life." Next map is a Quake 2 engine reference, I believe. This was my conversation. I'm going to go pull this up. I'm not going to play it. It's a conversation with Logan Day, July 17th, 2020, which is right after he sold the forum. And Logan Day had one final message for the internet.
So I'm still alive, much to certain people's chagrin. But I wanted to update about this 1-a-day calendar that I have. And it's absolutely amazing. It's wisdom from the universe every morning. And so I flipped it over this morning, and this is what I saw. No. Fuck off. I will never log off. And, see you tomorrow, bitches.
And then she logged off and disappeared, and nobody's heard from her ever since. I think she realized after my interview with her that people wouldn't rally around her as like a great feminist icon or forum entrepreneur or some shit. And as far as I know, she's completely fucked off. So that concludes chapter 4, the demise chat. Now we're down the last and final chapter. Chapter 5, the end. After Logan completely and totally ruined something awful for Lowtax, he decided that he would be forced to restart his entire career, this time as a 45-year-old man in poor health with no savings, IRS debt, ongoing legal disputes with his ex-wife, and alimony and child support owed to his first ex-wife. He had to start from scratch all over again, doing the only thing that he knew how to do, which was comedy. So he took to YouTube and decided that he would revitalize an old something awful brand name gaming garbage and start streaming. Let's take a look at some of that streaming chat.
I can't say or do things or I get in trouble. I'm sure you can go to Twitter and there's like 1,000 people saying about how evil I am and all the terrible things that I've done. So you can go just like fucking look it up there. But I would like to point out that what I am drinking here is an energy drink, completely non-alcoholic, because I don't drink alcohol. It's got protein in it. That's good. That's healthy. It's got vitamins in it. Those are healthy.
This video has 1.9 thousand views. I think his first stream where he had a guest one after he sold something awful, he got 3,000 views. However, his gaming garbage streams would almost never break 1,000 views moving forward, and they would almost they would dip below 20 live viewers doing during his actual showings. And like I can show you 800 views a year ago, 900, 1.2 thousand, 700, 900, 1.3 thousand, 900, 1,000, 300 for that one, 700, just desolate. Absolutely, like the kind of numbers that you would pull starting your own channel right now and just putting out content. Like, it's really terrible. And of course, when you're 45 and you're banking that this is going to like revitalize your entire career after you just sold your only asset, it's pretty fucking depressing. It's pretty hard. And what I noticed watching a lot of them, I'm trying to see, is this one? Yeah, okay. This is the majority of his content. I mentioned I scanned through a lot of his streams trying to find out the last time that that Lauren was like co-hosting with him. And it was 2019. She doesn't show up after 2019. But I did realize watching through all of his streams, the reason why they get such terrible numbers is that this is almost every single one of them. Every single stream is like this.
Listen, now both you go down and get Murphy. Radio me from the hallway before you go in on lower 5. Then go in and get him the hell out of there. Wait a second.
Maybe we should have a plan about how to get him out of the lockers that have fell on him.
Someone's trying to...
So he's like shit-faced in all of them. He's obviously fucked up on alcohol and pills. He looks like shit. He has no commentary, and he's just watching like old VHS tapes. A lot of these streams are missing because of copyright complaints, but some of these are so old and so obscure they're not even in Content ID. And those are the ones that have stayed up and remain with 300 views on them. So yeah, really terrible. And what's interesting is that this kind of confirms things that Mandy was saying when she was on the forum, because Mandy had said that Lowtax basically spent his entire life, like you're wondering, like between the 2000s where things started to decline and now, what was he doing with his time? He had all that time, all that money. Like what were even his vices? He would literally sit and watch old VHS tapes for hours a day and play mobile gacha games. That was he apparently even spent $50 on like a mobile game called Deadbeat Dad Simulator. So he was like super big into gacha and just wasted every waking second watching old VHS in his basement. And that was his entire life for like a decade. Which is pretty fucking sad. After this, in the time where after he was no longer the owner of Something Awful, he made a post in Fuck You and Die, a board that he 6 months prior to this post had actually deleted in a fit of rage because people were making fun of him. People say, don't post here. Get the fuck out. Nothing much. I'm trying to decide which is more powerful, punches or kicks. My wife is a little mouthy today. No av is fail, because I think they took his avatar. His avatar used to be a dancing pig. I think, but I don't have that. Declaring the wife as a threat to national security and taking appropriate measures domestically. No neggy vibes, please, mate. We're having a proper laugh at the moment. Wow, really? Beacock. Welcome to the Nazi subforum, Lowtax, or at least that's what you said about the subforum. I never really thought so. Get out. This is a really, really famous meme. That frog is kind of like a mascot for Something Awful, and apparently it came from a porn game or something. Just flirting with my Nazi friends. You called us Nazis, you gay bitch. I want to do the Bane backbreaker move on you 1,000 times or until your soul leaves your body. Nobody wants you here, pussy. Go hide behind mommy like you usually do. Anyways, there's a pin thread for this. Beacock, remove this filth. Bump for visibility. See y'all there. Calling the wife a Nazi so I can punch her. I'm coming for you, bitch. So this was the welcome he got back on Something Awful. After 20 years of running the place, it was very clear that the users of Something Awful were done with him. And indeed, Jeffrey of Yazpaz, who had bought the site from him for $400,000, eventually decided to make a little bit of that money back by auctioning the rights of banning him. The winning bid was by Skyle 3 Laser, who decided to ban him with this as the ban reason.
Round one, here we go. We may get a bit of a feeling out process at first.
That's a mangosteen, by the way. That's what the fruit looks like.
Kayanka down again. I'm a little concerned for Richard Kayanka right now. Uva looks determined to do this. Fans, if you can see this, you can see, if you can get in close enough, you can see the determined look on Uva Bull's face. He is not joking around, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Lowtax Kayanka seems to be dancing around like this is some sort of joke. Uva Bull, on the other hand, very serious, throwing some seriously big shots. He looks like a man that hits pretty good. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with Uva Bull's left hook. He seems to put the body behind that pretty good. He leads with that left hook a lot, though. Richard Kayanka looking for the crowd's approval, in a sense. Ooh, you're not gonna win any fans by that one, that's for sure. Richard Kayanka getting looks like he's getting an 8 count. Is he gonna get up? He's up. Is he ready to fight? He's gonna fight some more. They're back at it again. Uva leads with that left hand again, but he can't throw that right because by the time he throws it, Kayanka's down on the canvas. Oh, there's a big right hand. Oh, good left jab followed by the big right hand. Put Richard Kayanka down. 6, 7, 8, 9. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That fight is over. Uva Bull, your winner. Pretty good start for Uva Bull. I'm pretty impressed with that left hook of his. He's got a pretty heavy punch. He seems to know what he's doing pretty good. Oh, is that just the end of the round? I'm not sure what's, looks like we're going to go another round. I think we're going 3 rounds regardless, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are live from the Edgewater stage, the Plaza of Nations on wavelet.com. We're in between. Oh no, that fight is over, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look like Richard Lowtax Trianca is going to be coming out of his corner to fight. No, Richard Lowtax Trianca has had it after being hit by that big left hook of Uwe Boll. He's decided he's had enough.
And then it ends abruptly. The last thing worth mentioning, this took place in March of 2021, I want to say. In October 2021, he finally accepted a plea deal, or sorry, in 2020. I'm jumping around. So March is when the ban happened, but the last thing that happened in October was he accepted a plea deal in regards to the Logan domestic abuse thing. Where he paid $164, and so the Logan issue was finally and totally resolved forever. Now, I suppose I'll hide that and get around to it. We enter into 2022. This is the last year. This is the last half of the last page of my notebook. I should kind of contextualize what's happened now. Lowtax enters 2022 alone. And divorced men have an issue where they basically need mommy GF. Married men seem to lose the capacity to take care for themselves, which is why every divorced man typically tries to remarry as soon as possible. So Lowtax is now in a poor physical condition with an actual physical addiction. He has no money. He has no career prospects. His comedy live streaming thing was a complete failure. His daughter doesn't talk to him. I didn't even mention, but like all of his money, he didn't pay taxes, so the IRS was after him. I think he sold his house. I think that he sold his house in 2019. I forgot to mention that. He had been leasing a vehicle, so like he had a GT or some shit. He had like a sports car that he was leasing, and now he's in a rental with a rental vehicle, $0 in the bank. Alimony, child support, another child support, tens of thousands of dollars of court fees. That $400,000 from Jeffrey of Yazpas went immediately. He was already out of that by this point. In fact, in this, I'll mention this in a second, but I'll save that. I'll continue. He wakes up in February 2022. He's bleeding out of his head. Nobody knows why. He never explained it, but it might be because of vascular atrophy or peripheral nerve damage. This is a symptom of drug addiction, especially opioids, I believe. He says, if anyone wants to witness the physical effects of peripheral nerve damage, I have a photo for my foot right now. That looks like fucking gout. If you're only listening, it's like dark red and brown. His feet look absolutely awful. He's literally rotting away. And then in April 2022, he announces that it's pretty cool that during a divorce, your ex can file a temporary restraining order prohibiting you from accessing the money in your business bank account when she had no involvement with the business and was created 17 years before meeting her. Her attorney froze his assets through an injunction through the court because it was alleged that he was spending all the money that he had to avoid paying Ashley any of it during the divorce. This was a true statement. Which is what I was kind of holding back when discussing, because I wanted to show you this. All that money from Jeffrey was gone. All the money that he had made from something awful was gone, and he had literally nothing to show for it. At this point in time, Lowtax had nothing. It would be like if you dropped a random person into the body of a 45-year-old man who bleeds from his head and whose feet are about to be chopped off, and you did not give them any assets or anything to go along with. This is from that month, and I believe this is after the injunction was filed.
So it's like I don't want to use that term, but yeah, I was canceled, and I had to sell my site, and so because of things that happened. And this was during my divorce, which is still going on thanks to COVID, because it takes forever to get a fucking court date now. And so everything keeps getting pushed back. I've been trying to get a divorce since fucking November of Not last November, but the November before then is when I filed. And so I've been, I sold my business, and now the claim is being made by my ex that since I earned that money from the business I was forced to sell due to people spreading lies that were proven to be false and were celebrated by that party, which also helped spread the lies, I may add, that they are entitled to my business sale, which is not necessarily true due to the fact that I began the business in 1999 and the individual had absolutely no participation with my business. But it's okay. We're still arguing in court. We're still paying lawyers. I'm still paying a guardian ad litem. One guardian ad litem I've already paid $15,000 to. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I found out that the guardian ad litem, apparently I owed them another $5,000, which they never told me about. And so they tried to garnish my wages. And I'm like, I don't get paid. What are you going to garnish? So I had to pay them. So anyways, yeah, it's been a hoot this week. This week has been an utter fucking hoot. That's why I didn't stream yesterday, is because I was so full of rage. And as you can tell, I'm still full of rage, you know? Like my woman beating arm is all messed up because of all the stress. I don't even know which one is my woman beating arm. I'm not sure. I need somebody to tell me because I don't know these things, you know? I don't know what I've done or haven't done. Only the internet does. So I gotta wait for people to tell me what I'm guilty of before I know it.
This is a great clip to explain to you guys his haha silly man facade. He does not ever turn it off. At no point ever does he break that facade. And it was the most frustrating thing when talking to him was like he just couldn't ever be serious for a moment. He had a total and complete inability to take anything seriously, even with his own life, with his own future, with things that deeply matter to him. He could just never take a second to allow that vulnerability of caring about something and actually addressing it seriously. And because, you know, when you do that, you might look like a dipshit sometime. And he would never, ever, ever, ever take that risk. And I really want to know what happened or what made him that way, because it's so peculiar. I've literally never seen anybody like that. Who just has like this sarcastic veneer that he can't turn off. He cannot turn off the jokes. It's really strange. So he does this, and this is around the time where he starts looking at what are my career prospects. So he registers a site called Internet Dropouts. It's a WordPress blog. This is the only page that ever existed for it. It was password protected, and it never became anything. Internet Dropouts, the internet made you stupid. As a callback to the something awful slogan that he came up with in 2000, the internet makes you stupid. And now this is like a past tense, the internet made you stupid. And then in July of 2022, he says this in his Discord. He says, I love her and hope my family adopts her when I inevitably pull a McAfee. I'm here, find me, says become rich and famous, ? Antonio Molocchio says assassinated by the state for speaking the truth, ? Lowtax says no, kill myself. I guess I was wrong. He does sometimes break his veneer, and this is one instance. Lowtax says I have objectively weighed the pros and cons to living, and McAfee is in my future. I'm here, find me, says maybe spend a few years on the lam for tax evasion first, really get into the character. Lowtax says I've already done that. I'm like 5 years behind on taxes, and I have no way to pay for it since I lost my job to a lying bitch. So I'm going to live it up and end it, go out happy. Life is stupid and gay anyways. Wonderbal says, don't be a goblin. Work with the IRS on payments to get out of actionable status and move forward. Your capital is creativity, and you have an infinite amount of that, and we're all jealous of. Which is a really, really suck-ass statement, but I guess he really wants to help here. Lowtax says, P.S. Don't try to talk me out of suicide. I'm tired of this world, and I'm Job 2.0. Nah, just accept it, my dude. I'm here finally says, you could seek asylum in Russia. They'll see past your internet terrorisms. Lowtax says, hats. Vulnerable says, if you kill yourself, I will throw a chessboard at everyone you love. Lowtax says, I've been debating if I should live stream it or not. That might fuck people up, but it probably won't happen until next week or the one after. It's like, objectively, what's the point of life? To survive as long as we can. What kind of world is that? Life does have meaning. The issue is that you have to find the meaning. You might live for your children. You might live because you're proud of what you make and what you create each day. You might live just because you enjoy it. You really have to decide. And as funny as it is that Lowtax compares himself to Job because of how much he hates Christianity, he really doesn't learn the moral of the story of Job, which is that you don't really understand why things happen in life and you just have to move forward. And sometimes they work out in the end. That's what the divine, the message about divine providence and shit is in Job. It's a very old story, and he doesn't really seem to understand it. He just seems to think that Job is a story about how bad things happen, and therefore you should just kill yourself, because what's the fucking point anyways? Which is absolutely positively not what Job is about. But Lowtax couldn't see any of this. If he wasn't being immediately gratified by his current situation, then there's literally no point to survive, because what else are you going to do? Lady Ambien decided to post to the something awful about some stuff in October of that year. Lady Ambien says, in regards to Big Bad Steve, saying, we can see from the pic that Lowtax is not doing well financially. He can't afford a complete couch, a table to put his printer on, or even a book for his Wonderwall. I wonder if he's still addicted to premium cookies by mail order. There was a big joke that I completely forgot to mention somehow, where Lowtax was desperately addicted to Goldbelly pies, and he would order like $70 cookies from the internet to be delivered to his house for some reason. And that was also a big meme. Lady Ambien says he's doing just fine. That is the basement of the 3-bedroom home he rents and is fully refurbished with brand new things. And no, he's moved from cookies to women. This is a hint at something that will be discovered here in a second. Oh, you guys don't understand the cookie thing? It's a website called Goldbelly, and it's kind of like an Etsy, I think, for like bakeries in the United States. And they're like gourmet baked goods. And you wonder why Lowtax got fat. He got fat because he would drink wine, pop Ambien or opiates, and then also order a $70 pie from the internet. And that was like his thing. He talked about this a lot for whatever reason. Lady Ambien says, or in reply to, why doesn't he buy both so women can deliver the cookies? And she says he should. He would be saving money versus blowing as much as possible at all times. She's very salty because she has a sneaking suspicion that somebody is spending a lot of money very quickly to specifically make sure that she would not get any of that in the divorce settlement. This is also important because in the streams you can see that he's in that shitty room. She is alleging that he is deliberately trying to live in the shittiest way possible in live stream to ramp up pity points. Heath posting, are his medical troubles as legitimate as he made them out to be? Obviously, we know he ended up in the hospital, but he got a pretty big outpouring of support from the dead gay forums on account of that. She says, when they first started, he had me legitimately convinced they were real. Currently, I have no knowledge of where he's at medically other than what he tells me in court. Personally, I have learned to never trust what he says to me. After a while, I realized he was not making any effort to do physio, follow health advice, or make any changes necessary to make sure he didn't have follow-up issues. During our time married, he wanted to lay in bed downstairs day and night, either sleeping, watching movies, or on his phone, and to only leave the house to wash his car or go out to the restaurant by himself. I'm not a doctor, so I cannot reliably say if he's injured or not anymore, but if he is, he did not do a single thing during our time together to make it so the surgery would help any condition that existed. Ghost Leviathan says, that thing is that is legitimately impossible to tell whether he's lying about his medical conditions or at least partly truthful, driving irresponsibly regardless of them both, because both seem perfectly plausible. She responds to that it's possible to tell with pain. You have to stop and consider whose mouth it comes from. So she's saying he's probably exaggerating. As regards to that, this is the big one. Stex T says Lowtax should sublease to pornographers. They're always looking for unnervingly empty McMansions to shoot in. Lady Ambien says, what if I told you these sort of pictures existed and he was the photographer? Couldn't understand out why I was allowed to take the couch in the divorce with no resistance, but then I figured out when I saw a photo of a professional posing in our old house online. Lady Ambien dropped the bomb that Lowtax had branched out in his career path search to include a photographer for adult films. And when she said this, people began to scour the internet for proof that this was a thing and discovered Alyssa Love from Kansas City, Missouri. If you don't know, TS for rent means transsexual for rent. And that lovely little McMansion in the back that you might see there is Lowtax's house. There is a side-by-side comparison of different photos that people had found from the Realtor.com listing for the rental where he lived and photos from Alyssa Love's photo shoots that Lowtax was the photographer of. In the months that followed, his live streams continued to dwindle. He was, well, this is all in October, so there wasn't really much time to follow. One of his last streams was him eating meat on camera for tips, which amounted to a paltry sum of like less than $100. But this is what one of the greats of the internet, one of the best comedians to ever live, one of the most influential forum administrators in the history of mankind was reduced to by October 2022. And then finally, in November 2022, he did a... Ooh, I fucked up my thing somehow. He did a... I have no idea what I clicked. He was going to do a charity stream, supposedly. But this video, because it was just him watching fucking clips from VHS again, was claimed by Fox. However, I found out in my search that there was a teaser for this live stream, and I'll just let it speak for itself.
You know, a lot of times on Gaming Garbage, we like to have a little bit of fun. You know, we play some game. Well, I play some games to have a little bit of fun, but sometimes we get a little serious here on Gaming Garbage. And I'd like to introduce to you Scotty. And we're having a fundraiser today. I'm really hungry. We're having a fundraiser today for Scotty, who was a wee infant tot born with not only any skin, but bones, cartilage, muscle tissue, blood, organs, hair, the whole 9 yards.
This is one of the last things that Lowtax put out to the internet. This was the last thing that I could find that anyone has a record of Lowtax online. And so a few days later, on November 8th, the news came in about the final vindication. The court ruled and had decided over the facts that Lowtax had deliberately wasted $400,000 in 14 months in order to not pay Ashley. Lowtax had physically, emotionally, and verbally abused Ashley. Lowtax had failed to pay the guardian ad litem. Lowtax told Ashley ahead of time that he was going to move Logan into the house and expected her to be okay with that. Lowtax was ordered to pay Ashley a lump sum of $92,000, which had been seized by restraining order, so Lowtax couldn't spend that too. Lowtax had been ordered to pay Ashley $6,500 a month in spousal support for 2.5 years. He was ordered to pay $350 a month in child support until his daughter turned 18, and he was ordered to pay Ashley's lawyer $25,000 on top of the guardian ad litem fee. This just fucked my shit up so hard that 1 hour at 9:30 a.m. the next day, November 11th, actually, he posted in his Discord, "Catch you all on the flip side, Hermie." And a couple minutes later, Fragmaster, one of the oldest contributors to Something Awful, who hadn't posted in over 10 years, came back to post a video message explaining that Lowtax had killed himself.
So unfortunately, Richard Kainka, who everybody knows as Lowtax, has passed away, and even though I've long since retired from spewing garbage out onto the internet, I just wanted to attempt to eulogize him. I mean, this probably won't be very good, but I'm giving it a shot because he always told me to make more videos. So given recent history and the fact that he's primarily known for a site called Something Awful, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of negativity and offensive jokes, and you'd probably think a lot of the jokes were funny, but a lot of that stuff just heaped on the internet, you know, with the news of his passing. But, you know, perhaps hypocritically, I like to focus on the positive. I mean, I can tell you this, Rich was a genius. I mean, I don't think anyone could deny that he was, at the very least, a unique talent. I mean, I thought he was hilarious. You know, as a comedian, he was a musician, he was a programmer, obviously not forum search, haha. He was a designer, a video editor, an influencer, an internet superstar before such a thing, you know, really existed, when it was a new concept. If you were vaguely into PC games or comedy on the internet 20 years ago, you either laughed directly at something he created or something he facilitated the creation of. If you laughed at a meme on Reddit today, you can trace that back to his stupid image macros or whatever he called them. He invented all that, pretty much. I mean, the Something Awful forum spawned a great many things, and it's multiple decades of existence. Some things horrible and unfortunate, many things just unintelligible and a huge waste of time. But ultimately, Rich created a community where interesting things happened and people connected. I mean, it led to a gigantic number of positive things. I mean, numerous marriages, friendships, children can be traced back to, you know, Something Awful goon meets or private messages or, I don't know, Fiad's nonsense, who knows. Many lives were strangely improved by Rich and his creation. I mean, that seems weird to say.
Not his own, though, interestingly enough, because there was a point, and that would be the appropriate time to mention, that Jeffrey from Yazpaz confirmed that what people had suspected, that Condé Nast, the company that bought Reddit for $14 million in 2008, I want to say, offered to buy Something Awful from Lowtax for around $14 million. So they first approached him to buy Something Awful before later deciding to buy Reddit instead and turning it into what it is now. So you could point and laugh at the fact that Lowtax could have made $14 million by selling Something Awful to Condé Nast. However, chances are it wouldn't have mattered. I thought about this, and I really believe that if Something Awful had been sold to Condé Nast and Lowtax made way the same way that Tom from MySpace had, that he wouldn't have just lived it up like Tom does, who now posts beautiful travel blog photos on, you know, Instagram instead of having to work for the rest of his life. I think Lowtax would have just squandered it like he did everything else. So that particular fork in the road wasn't a make or break thing. Lowtax was given multiple opportunities that people would have killed for. He was given second chances that nobody else would ever get, and he managed to fuck it up time and time again, and it's really remarkable. I'll finish my soliloquy later, but I want to read, this was Ashley's response, and I think that Ashley maybe felt guilty because she did so thoroughly buck break Lowtax that perhaps she considered her divorce settlement, the end result of it was so unfavorable and perhaps unfair to Lowtax that he decided to kill himself. So she posted a bit of a Stockholm Syndrome obituary where she says, I have been sitting for hours debating whether or not to disclose this, and I felt it's something I need to do to get off my chest. Frankly, I'm tired of being quiet. I've mostly had my stay for the last few years about things happening behind the scenes. I've held things inside for so long, it's so hard to my chest, physically hurts the same way it is now. I've considered not sharing this out of respect for Rich's parents or sister, but I think after the incredibly vitriolic wall of text that Rich's mother sent to me this morning, saying upon many other things that his blood is on my hands, I need to share it to regain some sense of control over what's taken place in the past 48 hours. Yesterday, I received a divorce ruling that would help me and my daughter stay in our home in Canada and allow us to provide for a good life for her, as well as pay back numerous debts that had been accrued the past 2 years, when I was receiving $350 a month in child support. In the divorce ruling, the judge found that Rich had willfully spent down the marital fund, confirmed his treatment of me was domestic violence, and put together a plan to pay for attorney's fees, etc. He would still retain custody settled when previously in meditation. He was due to get our daughter for Christmas. An hour later, I was contacted by my attorney who informed me that Rich had shot himself earlier in the morning. So there it is. His other ex and I got to tell our children that their father died without saying goodbye to them, or that he loved them, or to my knowledge, left a note for them. If you made it this far, thank you for giving me space. So let this go. So I no longer have to hold it onto it. So I no longer have to hold on to it. That's what she's trying to say. The gun, in case you're wondering, was a Belgian 5.7, which is a bit of a meme gun, but it's a respectable cartridge, and apparently does the job quite well if you shoot for the right spot. He did leave no note. Nobody. It can only be assumed that he killed himself because of the divorce proceedings. However, his actual thoughts and feelings are not written down, so nobody really knows what he was thinking when he shot himself. That is what she had to say about it. She mentioned Lowtax's mother. Lowtax's mother was vitriolic to the bitter fucking end. Ashley did not post messages, but some people did. I think this went to the director of a GoFundMe that was not Ashley, but which she assumed was related to her. She says, if you have an ounce of humanity, you will delete your fundraising promotion off my son's page. You have no idea what resources and money X has, and I can tell you it's considerable. To spread lies after someone dies is not only immoral, but incredibly hurtful. Richard never missed a child support payment or obligation to his daughters. He loved them very much and never stopped fighting for them. Please take down that post. She proceeded to drag out every single thing related to the divorce and the payments. She fought tooth and nail to make sure that Ashley would not get a single cent without having earned it in proceedings, until she died as well. 4 months later, in March of 2022, 2022, she also died of leukemia. She had leukemia for a while, and after Lowtax died 4 months later, she also died of her cancer. And days after the fact, all the litigation was settled immediately. And Ashley was finally paid, and the last update to the docket regarding the divorce was entered on the 15th of March. So here we have a little bit of irony. Lowtax posted this on Twitter in regards to Anthony Bourdain. Pro tip, if you have a family, including a young daughter, and you make the decision to kill yourself and ruin that poor girl's life, you do not deserve praise or kind words. You have ruined that girl's entire life. You selfish asshole, which has become a sort of a self-written obituary because he did not leave his own note. And this is generally how people feel about him in retrospect. I think that the defining feature of Lowtax is that he was someone who was incredibly lazy. People generally sum him up as an addict in all of his behaviors, as addictive behaviors. And because we don't have a really clear timeline about when he became an addict and started acting more on behalf of finding highs versus furthering himself, I think that his main issue was being a genuine cautionary tale towards anyone who lacks ambition. He is proof that if you take people who don't really have initiative or drive or self-propellence or this desire, like this fire inside of them to make shit out of themselves, and to be like intelligent and careful about how they proceed in life, to not plan into the future. If you can give that kind of a person anything, you can give them a wealthy upbringing. You can pour on them opportunities that made people into billionaires at the time during the .com bubble. All those you think about all those companies that entered that sphere at the time and how they capitalized and progressed, like Google did. Google was founded the same year as Something Awful, I'm pretty sure. And then you give a young man all the money, all the women, like everything he could ever ask for, and then children, an entire family, and you continually give him like chances, second chances at fixing his mistakes, and he doesn't take any initiative to utilize any of those resources when he had more resources available to him than anybody else. You can show how just having zero ambition, zero drive is a destructive factor in and of itself. You really don't need help if you don't have any motivation to do stuff. That's that. That's what I have to say about him. I think that he had a lot of. I even offered at some point when he was cleaning house. I said, because I completely forgot to mention this, but there was a big drama continuously with the forum where they were trying to get him to upgrade from their really antiquated custom version of V Bulletin to Zinforo. Kiwi Farms uses Zinforo. I'm very familiar with it. I offered, because he had raised $20,000 to migrate the forum to Zinforo, which has never happened and still to this day has not happened. And I told him I could probably do it for $20,000. I offered to do it, and he didn't want to. So like he had so many chances from so many people offering him help continuously, but he just didn't want to commit to anything. He literally just wanted to sit in his fucking basement and jerk off and eat gold belly pies and watch shitty VHS tapes that nobody liked even when they were brand new. And he completely allowed everything, like his own kids, his wives, his relationships, like his forum, his entire life's work, allowed that to just go to waste. So he didn't have to be asked to do anything. It's real fucking sad. So that being said, Lowtax, now that you're dead, can you give us a weather report?
The power of Christ is just...
I'll check back in later. Thanks for the weather report. Oh, Jesus. Okay. That is that. I decided, deliberated. Oh, let me give a big thank you to Spunt, Gosa, Dogatron, and Slav Power. The first three, Sput, Gosa, and Dogatron, answered a bunch of questions for me, gave me tons and tons of insight into the